Give it a second. I'll give you the sign. I'll start it off so that we can get it kicked in properly. Just
Sounds good. It looks like it's live now. I got it in the top left corner on my side.
give it a second. You have it up on YouTube? There we go. Okay. All right. So we're on live. Perfect.
So how you doing, Nick? Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for joining me, Ben. It has been quite a journey, and I know that you've been quite an advocate for landlords as well. And I'd love to share with the public everything that you've been doing yourself as far as being an advocate in the best possible way.
Sure. I'm an advocate for housing. I'm an advocate for Rochester. I think we can do better. Personally, obviously the eviction moratorium got me off the bench and into the game, but I've been in the game for a while. You know, I've been doing it, trying to make a better world for all of us. But we've had some serious setbacks, and it's not just about the moratorium. It's really a housing crisis for everybody. You know, nobody's happy. Tenants aren't happy. We're not happy. So I'm here to talk to you about how we can do better. So how can I be most helpful to you?
Well, you know what? Before we even get started, Ben, would you like to share a little bit about what you've been up to, and as far as giving everybody a explanation of your approach and maybe a little bit of your background to help people kind of gauge who you are and what you've been doing?
Most definitely. So I'm born and raised in Rochester. I lived in Albany for just a very short time, but moved back, educated here, grew up here, love the city. I do a lot of nonprofit work, and then I have the small business of rental property on the side. And it's been something that's been good to me, and I've been trying to be good to them, you know, or my customers, right, my tenants, and just be part of the ecosystem. But something's bad in the water because the ecosystem's not safe to swim in. It's really pretty sad times for us. So trying to do better. And what I've been up to, honestly, right now, this moment, today, I'm just trying to stay well. I mean, I watched some cartoons, tried to unwind. I had a great conversation with you, got the ball rolling. You know, it felt good to talk to someone like-minded and thinking about some of the same things. You know, I've been advocating a lot, and I'm making some mistakes, and I'm learning a lot, and having some fun. But yeah, I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you about it.
Well, I wouldn't quite say mistakes. Everybody's learning right now. You know, we could all be doing better, but we're definitely having issues as well.
Mm-hmm. So Nick, tell me, like, what are you doing to stay well? Because, like, I mean, this pandemic is hurting everybody. So, you know, just curious, like, what are we doing to stay well? I think that's important because I get so stuck in, you know, my thinking, like, how can I change this? How can I get this guy to talk to me? And sometimes when you just can't help a guy and you can't get him to talk to you, the only thing you can do is take care of you. So the judges won't help me. The judges won't help you. What are we doing? You know, how can we stay well?
Well, I'll tell you what I've learned going into this. And, you know, it's been a psychological roller coaster for not only myself, with many people that are involved in this. And regardless if you're a landlord or a tenant, it's been a roller coaster psychologically for you for the past year. And I went from being really angry and really frustrated and like, you know, almost like I want to go out and scream from the rooftops to sitting back and analyzing it and giving myself a better understanding of no matter how aggravated I get about this, it's not going to change it. And I redirected my energy and redirected my thoughts towards how can I be more productive and how can I help the situation instead of just screaming and crying about it.
Mm-hmm.
So in my way of approaching it, I basically sat down and said to myself, I need to stop taking this personally. Yeah, although it's a very personal thing that I'm feeling, I can't take it personally because once I make it personal, other energies come out and it's not productive. So I'm trying to think of it from a logical aspect and doing it and approaching this in a way where, okay, the governor's not listening to us. The politicians are not listening to us. Media is not really covering us in any possible way. Well, what can I do to change that in my little way for my own little universe, my little bubble? Well, I have my own radio station, radio show that I go on every Monday. Not this Monday because of the holiday, but every normal Monday.
Mhm. Happy
And
President's Day, by the way. Yeah, looking forward to it. I think I still got to work, but it happens.
you still got to what?
I still got to work. Sometimes, I get a couple holidays off. I got a full-time job, so
Well, believe me, I'm still working because
yeah,
besides doing the radio show, this radio show is not a job. The radio show is just an extra thing that I do.
something for kids.
Um,
Yeah.
that's just a passion of mine.
Mhm.
But the my real work is I'm a real estate agent and I also am a property manager. So that's what keeps me going on a daily basis. So I still have to work.
Mhm.
But my thoughts were
No
I'm gonna
holidays, no paid holidays in small business. It's you work or you eat or you don't eat, pretty much. Yeah.
pretty much that you said you hit it right on the head. And my thoughts were I'm gonna use whatever outlet I can, such as a radio show, such as the social media that I have. I have a, a little fraction of exposure in the social media world. It's not huge, but it's something. You know, every
Use the
person.
tools you got. You got to dig where you are, right? You got to use the tools you got, dig where you are, and I think you're doing all the right things.
That's exactly it. So I figured let me use these platforms to be able to vocalize, to help people understand that they're not the only ones out there facing this, and for everybody to have a better understanding that of by unifying, we'll be able to get a lot more things accomplished than going in solo. So that has been what has been my direction and my um, way of approaching this over the past few months. So little by little, it's been somewhat productive. I don't want to say that it's been great, because it's been a challenge regardless. But little by little, we're getting people more and more involved, and that's all I could ask for.
Hey, I like it. And I want to go back to something you said that really hit me. It's like, you don't want to take it personal. And that's how I feel. I don't want to take this personal. I want to be able to say, it's nothing personal, it's just business. But then I think, business is personal, all business. Whether you own a house, whether you're a carpenter and you're working with tools, whether you're working with machines, you're always working with people. People are helping us and we're helping other people. That's what I think about when I think about business. So I think what's kind of happening and what's made this so bad is that we're not treating people like people. We're not recognizing that their inner worlds are just as complicated as ours. And I'm providing houses, and my customers are consuming housing. And my customers in general, not all of them, but in general, the customers of landlords are not happy. And we have to listen to our customers and adapt or die. That's how business works. Unfortunately, they have captured a lot of territory and they have captured the attention of the media. They've captured the attention of the politicians, and they've got a great story to sell. No one is happy when someone gets evicted. It's an ugly, ugly experience. The optics are bad. Putting someone out on the street, especially in winter, it's ugly. And no one wants that. And so I think some of our goals, obviously we need the eviction. We need evictions. We need a last recourse. We need our last option. When you remove a man's last option, it gets very dangerous. You see people punching people, throwing people out, civil court is to resolve civil issues. But we also just need to be personable. We need to be neighborly. We need to listen to our customers as hard as it is. And, we need to adapt or die. Simple as that.
Yeah, I get it. It's one of those things that where we can't take it personal but it is personal.
Mhm.
And we, when you're dealing with hurting people's livelihoods, obviously it becomes personal. But I've tried to remove that component as much as I humanly can.
Mhm.
Because like I said, like guys, we're human beings too. We're not like a big faceless corporation.
Mhm.
That there's nobody that's being affected, because we're being directly affected by all these laws that are in place, and it's a very difficult position to be in, and it's a very unique position that we're in compared to every other component of the economy, every other sector in business. We seem to be isolated more than any other group out there
Mhm.
in a
We've been singled
specific way.
out. Yeah, we've been singled out.
You're not necessarily telling a doctor you need to keep working at that hospital, and we're going to give you an IOU, and maybe you'll get paid, or maybe you won't get paid, but
Mhm.
you're going to have to keep working there. And while you're working there, you're going to be paying fees on the medical equipment that you're using,
Mhm.
and those uniforms that you're wearing. We're going to charge you a tax on those, and that stethoscope, you're going to pay a tax on that as well. You're not doing that. As outrageous as it sounds, what I'm saying right now, um, that's basically what they're doing to us.
Yeah, there's a lot of analogies like that, and they're all of them are imperfect because our business is unique, and our problems and our challenges and what our history is. Doctors have a lot to answer for. They have not been perfect. They prescribed drugs that were dangerous. They're doing better now, and so they're in the spotlight in a better way. Historically, real estate has been a very complicated place. Fair housing laws were passed 50 years ago for a reason, because there was redlining, there was really unjust practices, and I don't engage in those to the best of my ability. Nick, you've told me you're a realtor, you're upholding the code of ethics, but you don't need to have a code of ethics. You don't need a real estate license to be a landlord. You just need to have money. And some people that have money and see, flip this house or watch this show, they jump in the business and they don't understand their responsibilities to tenants, and they don't know how to take action. They don't have the emotional maturity to navigate very difficult conversations. And Nick, what I hear you saying is that you had to develop an edge. You had to be a little tough. You had to not let people take advantage of you. And I feel that too. And I really think it's the least favorite part of being a landlord is having to be tough with people. And my favorite parts are, believe it or not, finding an opportunity, putting my sweat into it, coordinating contractors, being at the center of urban development, redeveloping old buildings, turning something and changing it from something negative or not quite where it could be to something a little bit better. And evictions are my absolute least favorite part. And everything leading up to the eviction is just as bad. The navigation, like, hey man, why are you ignoring me? Hey buddy, like, I can connect you with some grants. Do you need anything? Would you like? I mean, can you move in like 30 days? Can we work something out? And now, I've got nothing. Even when those fail, there has to be something. And right now there's nothing. So I'm trying to learn and figure out something different. So how are you approaching that? I mean, does anything I'm saying resonate with you?
I mean, a lot of what you're telling me is resonating with me, and uh, the, here's the first thing I'm gonna hit what you first touched on. There's a myth out there that landlords get a kick out of evicting people. They're ruthless. They don't have any hearts. They want to have people on the streets, and that myth couldn't be farther from the truth. Absolutely farther from the truth. How can somebody survive by making a business out of kicking people out of their homes if that's their primary source of income?
Mhm.
So that's the first thing to debunk. The other thing is, if
So let me clarify for you. So I want to make sure I understand. So what you're saying is, you don't, we want long-term tenants, right? You're saying we want long-term tenants, we want steady income. No one can make a business out of being cruel.
correct,
I
correct,
think most people that watch this can agree with that. All right,
Absolutely.
what's your next one?
The other part of that component, if a landlord, a housing provider, any way you want to call it, the only reason I'm using the landlord phrase is not the greatest phrase,
Oh, it's
but
antiquated. Absolutely. The landlord is an old English legal term,
mhm,
and it's adapted from the English system, and now it's the United States system, and we kind of inherited it. So it's in the language of the laws, but it's also in the language of how we speak about it. But it might also be in the language of how we think about it. Do we think that we're have entitlements that that's a more complex and nuanced conversation. I think I can't really unpack that with you, and it wouldn't be productive for our audience, which is kind of interested in other things. But like,
absolutely. The,
but
the
yeah, keep
the
going, keep going.
just the point I'm trying to make on that is, and the only reason I use the term landlord is because it's the most commonly acceptable and most publicly recognized term for it. So by putting housing provider on a lot of our titles and a lot of dialogue that we're putting out there in the public, we're basically not giving ourselves the opportunity to get exposed to as many people, because a lot of times when they see housing providers, they might think affordable housing, they might think of um, public housing. They might think of all different array of things that might come up. So that's why I'm just sticking to the landlord term. But
Absolutely. I think we need to rebrand. But you've noticed that some people that have been kind of, I guess, abused in the public eye, they reclaim some of the slurs. You know, Mick, Jew, spick, some like all these horrible terms went one way, and then people take them back. They reclaim them, and I guess one thing I'm trying to do is, and I obviously didn't say the worst ones of all, but I really feel bad saying any of them. But the one thing I've tried to do is like take on that character, take on that character of the evil landlord. I have a YouTube channel. I dressed up like a wacky dude. I only made two of them. I got a bunch of ideas for more, but I tried to put myself in that headspace of the evil landlord, and I tried to say that's not me, but I reclaimed it, and it's a parody. It's a very low production, but it's something I'm trying. Like, so there's power in rebranding, saying no, I'm a housing provider, and there's power in reclaiming and satirizing the way that we're being portrayed as leeches, dehumanizing language, and there's power in satirizing, like making a joke out of it, having fun with it, and like you said, for me, you said you try not to take it personal. For me, laughter is the best medicine. I can develop that edge. I have to be tough. I have to be with boundaries, but that can only play in court. That can only play so far. The rest of the time, I got to not take myself so seriously. I gotta have fun, or else I'm not gonna survive. I mean, today I was watching cartoons and going for a run. Just I got to stay well, and I think you're talking about that too. Like, this is just painful. This is a really painful time for our whole community. It sucks.
it is, and the point I'm trying to make is that as housing providers, as landlords, we want our tenants to stay in the place as long as humanly possible in the space. Nobody's fighting them about wanting to move, as long as they're taking care of the place the way they should properly do, and we do our part, and they're paying on time, and we're fulfilling our obligations. Stay forever. I never want you to move, because the biggest enemy that a landlord could possibly have is vacancy. So I'm doing the best I can to help people understand that landlords are not, demons. They're not villains. They're not the things that are portrayed publicly to society.
I
They're
believe that.
basically just your average people trying to live,
I absolutely believe
to
that,
make a
that
living.
you're doing the best you can. And honestly, even though I'm very critical of some of the people that get in the business for the wrong reasons and don't have a full understanding, I think they're doing the best they can. I think they just really lack the skills. They don't have the skills. They don't know how to manage their expectations. And neither did I. I jumped in with both feet and eyes closed, and they've been slowly opening to just how interconnected it all is. You can't, I mean, housing, if you care about schools, you better care about housing, because when someone gets evicted 3, 4 times and the neighborhood's destabilized, those kids are going to get hurt. If you care about the environment and people get evicted 3, 4 times, you know, all that trash goes to the curb, all those fumes from running those trucks. You know, it's just people buy these cheap, you know, I have no problem with any kind of people, but if you buy cheap foreign made goods, you know, that just get repurposed or thrown out, like repurposing is better. I'm just sorry, let me slow down. Trying to stay on message, trying to stay calm. Like I said, I'm really fired up, and I want to be precise because this is important. But if you care about anything,
that's why don't worry. That's why we're here. We're
Yeah.
here to have that conversation and to have an open conversation on the platform. By the way, anybody that's listening right now, if they want to jump into the conversation through the comment boards, you know, I'll make sure that we get everything touched upon. And you know, we're here. We're not under the gun. We're not on big platforms where they're gonna cut us off because of timing restrictions. We're gonna complete our conversation, and when it's over, it's over.
Thank you for letting me.
Pace yourself. Say whatever you have to say.
So what I was saying is, you know, life happens at home. Housing matters. You know, when I did contracting, I would go in people's homes and I really learned a lot about them. When I did a mobile crisis, which is an alternative to police for mental health response, I went into people's homes. And you really learn a lot when you do community-based work like that. And when you know, it's like anything. If you go to people's homes for dinner, you know, you see where life happens at home. And our homes are not healthy. You know, some of our homes are on fire, and it's really gotten just horrible. And if you care about any issue at all, you should care about housing, because we're interconnected, we're an ecosystem, and community is really, really deteriorated. So I think I'll get off my soapbox and talk to me more. What
nobody wants to hear our sob stories. They kind of want to hear us as far as have an understanding that there's other people like us out there. You know, I could sit in and I could talk about how horrible the situation has been, and I've relayed that in the past, and I don't think everybody wants to hear the same story over and over again. But I think what everybody wants to hear is what have we actually been doing, because that's I think the most important thing for people to understand, because it's one thing for us to, you know, put a couple of comments here and there through blogs, through social media, every so often say something, be verbal about it, and then disappear and go into our, you know, little private hideaways. But what we're doing is
you're talking about the echo chambers, I think. You know, landlords are talking to landlords. They're letting off steam. They're stuck in an echo chamber. And, you know, if you go on there, you'll see some thoughtful dialogue, but you'll also see these MFers, these blah, 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 pieces, POS, you know, these people, you know, they got money for this, they got money for that, but they don't have my money. It's like, I don't know. That's why I don't rent to people with kids, you know, things that are illegal, things that really shouldn't be happening. You know, like, I don't care about your political beliefs, but I think Biden said one thing. If you can agree with him on anything, you can agree with him that we're fighting an uncivil war. People have forgot how to be polite. They forgot how to be nice. They're calling landlords leeches. They're calling tenants scumbags, dirtbags, right? We've heard these terms. They got to go. We can't.
Well, think about it like this: who created that situation? Who created that animosity?
I think it cuts both ways.
No, I don't think it's necessarily the tenants, and I don't think it's necessarily the.
There you go. Now you're onto something. Yep.
I think it's the powers above of the way they're conducting these laws, and the way they're making things a little lopsided and a little skewed, you know, to be put in a polite way, that has caused this artificial animosity. Now, is there some animosity that's created between landlords and tenants on a personal level, that kind of thing? Yeah, it happens all the time. People are human beings, and tempers go up, and people do things wrong. And you have good people that are landlords, and you have good people that are tenants, and you have dirtbags that are tenants, and you have dirtbags that are landlords, and it goes back and forth. But if there's no clear and there's no fair type of approach to landlord-tenant laws, who's really at blame for all these situations?
So
who's
let me
going to be
pause.
accountable for this?
I really got to pause. So I think your last question is the question we need to avoid. Who's to blame? If you try to find who to blame, everyone's pointing fingers, nothing's getting done. So I think we need to reframe this. Tenants have a problem. I'm pointing at myself. So I've never rented. I don't have those perspectives. Tenants have a problem. Landlords have a problem. Mm-hmm. Property investors have a problem. And honestly, it is spilling over. You can think this doesn't affect you because you own your single family home on a cul-de-sac, but it affects you. It's affecting the way our taxes are spent. It's affecting the way where our dollars are going. You don't want to live next to a rented house, that no one's paying rent. You don't want, this chaos will spill over. So I guess what I want to say today, here and now, I'm making my stand that tenants and landlords, let's make it us versus the problem. Let's stop letting anyone make it us versus them. We need to make it us versus the problem. And the problem is too many evictions, too many unrepaired buildings, right? We can agree too much litter on the streets, too much crime. You do your best, and the tenant's doing his best, but then his car gets jacked and then he can't pay rent. And then y'all are fighting each other because someone stole his car. Like, how does that make sense? We got to do better. And I know that sounds, maybe some people listening think, oh, pie in the sky, but I'm used to working on big problems. I've been doing it my whole life, and I'm not going to stop just because, it's not as easy to get rich in real estate. It's bad luck. I chose this business, and I'm not changing course. I love it. So.
Well, Ben, I think you kind of might have directed a little differently from where I was going right now with that who's to blame situation.
Yeah, I know, and I don't
because let me just finish my thoughts.
Yeah,
I could help you understand where I was going with this.
Mm-hmm.
We, as a landlord community, are throwing all the blame and anger towards the tenants. The tenants are throwing all the blame and anger towards the landlords.
Mm-hmm.
But the truth is, and the reality is, it's really the people above that are making these laws to put us at a very apprehensive type of situation unnecessarily,
mm-hmm.
because there's no clear and righteous path that they're taking. Right. This is all about votes. In my personal opinion, maybe I'm completely wrong, but I believe it's all about votes. It's all about appeasing what they think that the masses and the majority will like, temporary solutions, and not looking at the long-term ramifications of what's happening and the economical problems that we're coming across. So that's why I brought the whole who's to blame situation, because I firmly believe that it's not the tenants' fault.
Right.
Even the ones, I'll even go a step even further, even the ones that are taking advantage of the system, they're manipulating the moratorium and all these mandates that we have. It's not even their fault. They might not be good people. They might be not, not the nicest of citizens, so to say, but they're being enabled by the government to do this.
Okay, all right. I'm hearing you. I'm hearing
you. Understand do you understand the direction that I was going?
Make sure. Yeah.
I wasn't going towards the place of blaming anybody.
Right.
I'm trying to find a resolution and a correct type of understanding of how a clear path can go forward both with both the tenant and the landlord community in a righteous type of method.
Yeah, Nick, that totally shows through. Your heart is in it. I can tell you care. I can tell you want answers. I can tell you want solutions. And I hear you saying that politicians are getting votes, and they're going this way, right? There's some people, that are fired up to the right, some people fired up to the left, and the politicians are getting further and further apart. That's on full display. We see that they're arguing, they're fighting in Congress, they're attacking each other. So the only way we can get through this is when communities come together, governments become unnecessary. When people start acting like neighbors, politicians, laws, they become unnecessary, right? Evictions are unnecessary if my tenant is paying. Correct. Judges don't have to be involved. And we have to get the government less involved by stopping, just kind of make them obsolete. Take away their job. Give them something else to fight about, or talk about. They're supposed to be public servants. They're struggling to serve us because everyone's fired up and no one's listening. So I'm just saying I want to start listening to my customers. I also want them to start listening to me. That can be a harder sell, but the only way I can do that is by being decent. So, I can tell you a little bit about what I've been doing to be decent and the way I tried to approach it. I think it's a better approach than calling for a strike, because strike sounds really bad. Even if you're saying, I think it's better to say, I can't pay. Just admit it. Just say, hey, I took a business risk, and the government has interceded in a way, the regulatory environment is totally unfair. And, you have to admit some vulnerability that someone's taking advantage.
I'm going to have to jump in on that just for a second. And I apologize for interrupting you. That whole risk component, yes, every single person that makes an investment, every single person that jumps into a business type of situation is taking a risk, and they take it upon themselves. You could make a lot of money, you could lose a lot of money, but it's really on you.
Should be.
I'm completely with that. However, in this specific situation, that risk factor for me personally, and for anybody that's looking at it from a logical point of view, goes out the window, because that risk factor has completely been turned upon its head. Because it's one thing to have a business that's making wrong decisions and losing money. It's one thing for a business to be, affected one way or the other. Maybe a natural disaster comes in and wipes out that business, and they don't have the proper insurance, and that's on them for not being able to get past. My heart goes out to anybody that's affected in that possible way, because that's not an easy thing to go through. The difference is right now is we're going through this. Everybody's using the cloak of the pandemic and the coronavirus right now to be able to change the way things work. And I've always been an advocate of protecting the people that are affected, whether you're on one side of the fence or the other side of the fence. Everybody that's been affected should be protected and should be taken care of. However, by doing so and putting out a blanket out there, they artificially manipulated the situation in a way where it takes away our means and our method of operating. Now, your average landlord might have a certain amount of set funds available to be able to cover themselves for X amount of time, whether it be a few months, whether it's 6 months, whether it's a year, whether it's 2 years. Or it could be, 5 years, whatever the case is. And not everybody's finances are the same. But usually they have a certain amount for emergency kind of situations.
Right. Cash reserves.
Correct. These funds have been depleting month after month after month. And there's some people that have already gotten to their breaking point where they
And the
do
debts
not
are
have
rising.
funds.
The funds are depleting and the debts are rising because a lot of people taking loans to keep afloat.
Exactly.
It felt like a real slap in the face when Governor Cuomo offered direct relief to tenants and loans to me. That felt like a slap.
That is exactly what it is.
And then the money didn't even get spent. That was a horrible rollout. It took them, like, you can't give away money. Who ever heard of not being able to give away money, right? You can't allocate it the
Welcome
right
to New
way.
York politics.
Yeah, it's a mess. So like I said, we got to get away from that. What I hear you saying is that we were prepared for the risk of, a natural disaster. We weren't prepared for the risk of a regulatory environment that just wiped away all of our property rights. That's not something that we've really seen in this country. And the reason countries succeed or fail, and I'm not making this up. This is research. There's a gentleman named Darren Asamoglu. He's on the short list for the Nobel Prize in Economics. He wrote Why Nations Fail. He talks about strong property rights and strong institutions. So whether I steal something small from you or something big, whether you got hurt by a big corporation or a big corporation is being hurt, no matter what your rung in the ladder, the courts intercede. The courts listen to the case. A third party intervenes. The problem now is the executive branch, the legislative branch have grown so powerful. And the executive branch has really overused these executive orders. They were not intended to, you're not supposed to create emergency every week so you can get your agenda done. The judges need to step up, and they're not, they're not wading in. And part of that, I hate to say it, is our fault. It is not our fault, but it's how do I put this? Part of the problem is, and we have to empathize with judges, there's just too many cases. They can't process all these cases. And there's a lot of people who would evict someone over $100, And so cases that build up, they're going to start chipping away at those. But yeah, I guess what am I going to do? This is a wake-up call for me. I'm going to prosecute my case. I'm going to try to get paid, and I'm going to try to get attention to this issue. And it feels really unfair that the regulatory environment and the fighting of the politicians and the way the media puts the spin on things, that all feels really unfair. Sometimes it even feels conspiratorial. But I try not to go down that road because it's more like, just chaos theory.
Well,
everything's
Ben,
connected, like.
You've been hitting on the points of non-payments and possibly a landlord, trying to evict for even $100 and that kind of thing. And there should be some kind of moderation on how that's been
Thoughtfulness.
approached. However, under these mandates that we have, a lot of the evictions that are going forward that have been halted are not for payment issues.
Mm-hmm.
You have people that are physically destroying units.
Yes.
Out of spite, or out of just not being nice people, or out of a reason to buy themselves more time after the moratorium is over, or causing such a nuisance that are forcing other tenants that are actually well-paying tenants to move out because of those issues. So that we are restricted and stopped from being able to take care of. Yeah. So the truth and the reality of the matter is, if it was only tenants that are COVID related non-payments, the damage and and what we are suffering as housing providers right now would not be as severe. It wouldn't be even close to what is happening. The non-thought out mandate and unintended blanket over us is, well, I don't know if it's unintended, because I'll tell you something. New York State in general has never been a friend to housing providers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially downstate. I know.
As long as I know, maybe there was once upon a time that things were much better, but not in my lifetime. I'm 44. I'm going to be 44 in a couple of weeks. I'm This is what I've seen and what I've understood. My father is in the 70s. He hasn't seen anything differently in his lifetime. So I could go off of what my generation and the generation that we came from, that we have never been allies or friends of the state, as far as an industry, as far as a uh, uh, economical component, unless you were one of those big groups. And
Yeah, if you got enough money to pull on the right string.
and you're supporting the right politician to
Yeah.
get some things done. That we'll put that to the side and put
Yeah,
that
we have to. We have to, because we're not them. Yeah.
But my point is that they've never been friends of ours. So I'm feeling that due to this current crisis that we're living through, they're just stepping on us more, and they're manipulating the situation to not be friendly towards us.
Well, I think it comes down to economic illiteracy. Politicians aren't very economically literate, and they find it hard to listen to economists, because economists are very hard to understand. Obviously, most people are literate enough to know supply and demand, but just the functioning of the free market, the benefits of the free market, the downsides of the free market, externalities, the good things about the free market, and the good things about some central planning. People really need to understand it. So, especially like rent control, that's a complex issue. But basically, when you put a cap on how the free market can operate, it's going to benefit people, in the short term. It's going to benefit people who stay, but eventually it distorts the market, and the market is an information sharing system, right? I have something that you want, you have something that I want, and we trade, and we're using money to figure out what it's worth. When you say, have price floors or price ceilings, it kind of messes with things. And that doesn't mean that price floors and price ceilings are all bad, but I think the people that instituted rent control, and the people, they just didn't have the literacy to understand unintended consequences. They saw, you can't move a whole neighborhood. Like, I don't know a lot about New York City history. I don't live in New York City, but you can't move all the Bronx to the Queens and all the Queens to the Bronx, and Manhattan has to go here. And like, you can't move all these boroughs because one is on the up and the other's on the down. So I'm not saying they did the best they could, but what else can you say about them? You can't get mad about it. You have to. I'm living today, so I guess we have to make the general public more literate, the voting public more literate. We have to bring attention to these issues, and I think it's important not to just hammer in on the eviction moratorium. Like, we have to hammer in on housing and how we can build community, and how we can have healthier homes where. And one last thing is what I see when I see people ripping out things. I do say, gosh, they're not nice people, but I also see the desperation. Just like, imagine thinking, well, my best move here is if I trash my own living space, the place where I hang my head, if I trash it enough and pretend the landlord did it, that's really desperation. That means things are really bad. That means someone's not been treated well their whole lives. And also they make bad choices, but it's got to be both. So I just feel the desperation. I feel for the tenants, because I don't necessarily feel for my problem guy, but I when I worked mobile crisis and I went into people's homes and I saw how they were living, I was like, it takes two to tango here. Like, I'm not, that was a less personal interaction with the way people are living. And I kind of said, like, what is this guy doing that renting to the, and I don't know his story. Maybe he did the best he could too, but I was like, we have to agree that something's wrong when the houses look like they do, and tenants behave the way they do, and landlords behave the way they do. So now that we've identified the problem, what are we going to do about it? I think Rich has a great idea. I listen to the podcast. Accountability on both sides. It has to start there.
Oh, absolutely. You have to have, and that's the one component of our approaches, both yours and I's and other people. We all have the right to agree to disagree of how we approach it, our mindset of how we feel this should be addressed. And I definitely do agree with some of the components that you agree with, but I do not agree with rationalizing with somebody that's actually taking action and destroying property.
Yeah, how can you? It's
For
not
the
safe. I mean, what they're doing is not safe. I just know that it comes from a place of desperation. Well, you can be desperate and jumping off a bridge. You can be desperate and hurting people, punching people in the mouth. You can be desperate and do a lot of inappropriate stuff, and it doesn't make it okay.
No,
It's unacceptable. But I recognize the desperation, and I guess we just got to chip at it, chip away at it, chip away at the rock, right? How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. This is a big problem, and it's not going to get solved. Personally, I don't think it's going to get solved by tax striking, finding out who to blame, or anything else. It's going to be solved by taking a bite of that elephant every day, taking a little bite of that elephant, and eventually we'll have a better world. I believe that. I'm a person of faith, and I think we're going to have a better world, but we have to work at it. We really do.
well, let me hit on a couple of things that you just mentioned. The first thing that you hit on was uh, striking on the taxes, and we're going to really get into that a little bit more because of the action of the movement you tried to put together this past week, and I want to get like really into that.
I
Uh,
do too. I appreciate you highlighting it. I'm glad you mentioned it on the show, and I appreciate the attention.
I really want to make because I believe that everybody's approach should be addressed and looked at because we don't necessarily have the right or wrong answers, any of us, because the truth be said, we're not getting results. And the person that is right at the end of the day is the one that actually gets the results.
Yeah.
So I don't care who's right or wrong, as long as we are able to find a healthy solution. Now, going back to another component of what you had said, I think the ultimate goal for everybody is to be able to achieve and find healthy housing type of situations moving forward for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And accountability on both ends needs to be addressed. You
Mm-hmm.
know, now do we have certain laws in place that are extremely skewed and extremely um, uh, lopsided towards the tenant end, and I understand why. Don't believe that I don't understand why,
Oh, they
because
were
I know.
lopsided. They were lopsided our way for a long time. So yeah, I mean, the lopsidedness is a problem. They were lopsided our way. They're lopsided their way. It goes back and forth. It depends on which state you live in. In some states, it's still pretty lopsided. I mean, in Utah, you could just say you could be out in a week. I mean, I'm exaggerating. I don't know the exact laws of every state, but some states, it's like bing bang boom, you're out. And even the federal moratorium doesn't have any teeth. But we're not talking about that. Real estate is local.
Well,
So locally,
I'll give you a
it's
perfect.
way swayed. Yeah.
You actually jumped up with something because
Mhm.
every state has their own laws.
Mhm.
Okay, here's my biggest issue and my biggest gripe. Okay, California, which is considered to be an extremely progressive state,
Mhm.
extremely liberal state, extremely uh, tenant friendly state,
Mhm.
did not enact a blanket moratorium the same way we have here in New York.
Yeah. I think it's population density. I think that's why.
Well,
I think
they're pretty populated.
they're populated, but it's the density, right? New York City is the most densely populated. So the consequences of the pandemic of people moving, I'm just telling you, go Cuomo's thinking. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm telling you that Cuomo thought our population is so dense that if people have to leave their house and go stay with their cousin, then their cousin gets sick, then this person gets sick, and then the system gets overloaded. And he had to
Well,
make some tough decisions. I don't really I started off really hammering on Cuomo, getting angry at him because he personally affected me. But I'm realizing a lot of people like him, and it's not going to help me to demonize him or anybody. I got to get past it. I got to get past my anger and get to work. And I want to tell you a little about history. So there was a pandemic followed by a Great Depression. And a lot of people know that the war brought us out of the Great Depression, but it wasn't just the war. a lot of landlords, surprisingly, started advocating for progressive ideas like higher wages. The higher wages you get, the more industry you have, the more people can pay rent. I mean, people are poor. Rochester's got the highest child poverty rate in the state. And I don't know where you live in New York and where you operate, but in Rochester, kids are poor. Kids don't have enough to eat. I got some tough feedback, and it was hard to think about. I was doing this my stunt, if you will, my demonstration didn't get a lot of results. Like you said, we'll talk about that too. But right before we did, a gentleman that I know and volunteered with, he said a group of landlords is going to protest at City Hall the day after kids learn that they're not going to get hot lunches in school, because we have elementary school kids in person. And like, that's blatant whataboutism, like injustice, my injustice and that injustice. I don't know how connected they are. Maybe somehow they're connected, but he's saying like, I'm privileged. I can't position myself as a victim, but I was really trying hard not to be the victim. That was why I paid my taxes public, because I didn't want to be a victim. I wanted to rise above, but it was very lonely. Only one other landlord came, and I was hyping it. I was putting stuff out. Nobody came. And I think anybody, even if you couldn't pay your taxes, you could come. You could eat your humble pie, and you could be on camera on Spectrum News with me and saying, good for Ben, he can pay. We're not all in that same boat. Some of us can't pay either. And yesterday you said the right thing. Even if 500 of us organize a strike, we would be crushed. And even if 500 of us organize a strike, there would be unintended consequences there too. There would be maybe down the line, right? People cross picket lines. People stop striking when it's opportunistic to stop striking. So that's why I kind of didn't. I can appreciate telling the story. I can't pay, or I won't pay, and I'm angry about it, and that's my personal choice. But trying to get everyone not to pay, it's just not gonna. I don't think that's a strategy that's got legs.
Well, you have the fear in place.
You have the fear, yeah.
Right now, you have too many landlords that are petrified. If they don't pay their taxes,
we put too much into it.
They're going to get killed by liens, judgments, whatever you want to have attached to it. And eventually they might even lose their place to a foreclosure from the city for a seizure. Yeah. So in order to have a strike, it really is a far-fetched type of approach, because of the fact that you will not get enough landlords unified to stop paying. If even 50% of the landlords tomorrow said we are not paying a dime going forward, I guarantee you that would get the politicians' attention. But it won't happen, and that's the problem. And that's why
and then someone from Virginia or Europe, Africa, and totally other continents, they would start buying up New York. And we know that's a problem too. We've seen that. There's people that are out of state that never set foot in New York, that never set foot in Rochester, that are buying houses, hiring some property manager, and I think that's it. Like, it's a hands-on business. Real estate, it's like you can't cut someone's hair from across the pond, but you can operate real estate from across the pond. I don't think so. That's not going to work. So that's a whole nother issue.
Anything could work as far as people's investment opportunities and whatever the case is. I'm not going to I'm not going to get into the fear of foreign money getting into New York and starting to buy up other properties. Because here's the thing, and I don't understand why a person like me, with my little, a mind, my limited, expertise and understanding of things.
You're not giving yourself. I don't think you're giving yourself enough credit. But
well, I will say this: with my limited expertise and my small mind, I could come up with valid solutions to the foreign type of situation. It's a very easy solution. Let them invest in New York. Keep pouring your money into New York. and stop taxing New Yorkers the way you're taxing them and start escalating fees on foreign-owned investments.
There you go. I,
And
I
there you
actually,
go.
I talked to a politician about that. I think that that's an idea that really has legs. Is that if you are a hands-on owner, you're going to be given a little leeway, given some incentives. If you're a person that lives in the city, and but if you're a foreign investor, maybe it has to filter through someone. Maybe you're highly regulated. Maybe you get extra inspections, or maybe you have to do it through a pool. There's mutual funds, real estate mutual funds. So
You're
New
being too
Yorkers
nice
say,
about it. You're being too nice about it, Ben.
yeah,
The truth is, let them invest. Let them directly invest. Let them invest through LLC any way they like. If it's not owned by a U.S. citizen, it gets taxed at a different rate, and then you're going to offset the differences. It's very easy. Even if you increase the tax percentage by 5-10% of what it currently is, you know what a difference in revenue that's going to be
yeah,
for the city. And then you could actually take, here's a novel idea. You could take those saving that extra revenue that you're taking and subsidize the taxes that everybody else is paying and bring their taxes down that are actually New York residents.
So just like you said, we're getting beyond my expertise, and I think, but I guess what I want to see is that's the kind of thing I would like the politicians to figure out. When we take our hands off of each other's throats, the politicians can start running with ideas like that, better ideas. And I'm not going to work it out. And I don't think it would be useful for meeting this moment that we're in now to try and figure those things out. Those are things that are going to take months to develop. Let's stay in the moment. We've got a crisis on our hand. We've got a housing crisis. Nobody's happy. How do we get off each other's throat? So, Nick, how do you think we can get off each other's throat and then start looking downfield, right? For a sports metaphor, right? Let's deal with the next play, not the whole game at once. So what's the next play? What do you think?
Okay, so here's the next play that's not being approached by your average organizations. My personal opinion is right now we're in the process of it's tax season.
Mm-hmm.
It's also the season for grieving your taxes.
Mm-hmm.
It's also the time where they're taking a look at what kind of income you're getting from these units. So the assessment for a lot of these properties, theoretically, and I'm going to put this in quotes, theoretically should go down
Mm-hmm.
because we're not getting any income on these investment properties. And
Mm-hmm.
historically, especially in New York City, it's been based off of the income that these buildings are producing, as far as what the assessment is. So the taxes theoretically are supposed to be coming down. Now, will it come down 5%? Will it come out 10%? Will it come out 2%, 20%? We don't know yet because they're still in the collection modes of trying to gather all this information. But I can guarantee you that it's going to be something of significance as far as revenue that's coming in. So now the state and the city is not collecting additional property tax revenues that they would have because of the assessments of being higher.
Mm-hmm.
They are not collecting income taxes, which they would have because they would have been collected through rents.
Mm-hmm.
How are they going to subsidize and make up the difference for this lost revenue?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the thing that we need to, as a landlord organization, hit on, and basically say, okay, you just cut our hands and our feet from us
Mm-hmm.
as far as being able to operate. What about you now? Well, how are you going to operate? Because there's no money coming in.
Now we're synergizing because something felt off about a tax strike, but what you're talking about is still working within due process of law, right? Going down, talking to your tax assessor, saying, hey, this isn't right, and giving them a hard time at the local level, face to face, saying, hey, I'm writing letters, this is my situation, you better lower my appraised value. Now you're really talking some solutions because you're still working within the bounds of law. I think what bothers me about the tax strike, it doesn't bother me if you can't meet your obligations and you're fighting to catch up. If you're waiting to sell and then you'll pay then, if you're, managing debt, managing tax debt, that's perfectly reasonable. But trying to get everyone to not pay, That doesn't have legs. But what you're talking about is the, because I've written letters to Cuomo, judges, state reps. I'm getting format. They don't answer. They plain and simple don't answer. But the tax assessors, that might have some. That's more personalized relationship. I mean, I don't want to work them to death either, but
Well, it's
they're
not
ringing
only
the phone.
it's not only the tax assessors,
Mhm,
it's the income tax that's being lost.
mhm,
And don't forget about all the jobs that are being stopped. How
mhm.
many places, I don't know about you personally, but I'll tell you something. At the units I take care of, where I would normally have somebody maybe paint the unit for myself or whatever the case, if I have the opportunity, the ability to do it, I'm gonna go there a few nights and get it done instead of having somebody do it for me because I'm not getting the income coming in on these units.
Mhm.
That person just lost a job. Not because I want to be mean and take away the person's job. It's just because I'm not collecting the revenue anymore. And I need to be able to save everywhere I can in order to. How is that affecting the city? Because those people that are not collecting income, maybe they're taking unemployment right now.
Mhm.
These are the things that they're not taking into consideration. They're not looking at the massive big picture as far as how this sector that we're in is like an octopus.
Mhm.
You have the head, which let's call the landlord the head of where it starts from, but all the arms of the octopus goes in different ways, and they give different opportunities to different sectors of the business. Whether you're in the contracting business, whether you're a painter, whether you're a landscaper,
Yeah.
whether you're an exterminator, whether you're an accountant, whether you're a lawyer, whether you're what. There's so many different. Uh,
I like your metaphor. I prefer it if it was an ecosystem. I don't want to be the head of anything. I don't want to be the boss of anything. I'd rather be, like I have a certain set of skills. I'm not a job provider per se. They're providing me with a job too, because if I didn't have all these different people to coordinate, I wouldn't have a job. But I do have a job. And there's this myth that landlords don't have a job. My job is to coordinate and be the middleman, connect people, make sales. People don't realize that this coordination effort is complex and it requires a single person, a single mind to take executive action. Boom, 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 boom. They think some housing advocates on the very far left think the community will figure that out. But the community, unfortunately, when you have too many cooks in the kitchen, it spoils the broth. The incentives get distorted. I know a gentleman who's he would be great to have on your show if you're looking for someone who's really trying some new things. I don't know if he would come on. He's kind of a shy guy, but he's had. I'll talk to him about it. But he's done like these co-ops, these collectives, and he said there were limitations to that model. He tried it, but then he made a community garden. It started off really great, the community garden, potlucks, but then kind of people stopped doing the dishes. People stopped weeding the garden, and that garden. I mean, I could take a picture. It's got toilet seats in it. It
it
looks
comes
really
down
bad.
to accountability. What we were talking about before. Everybody
Yeah,
has to be accountable for
yeah.
themselves.
So there's like pros and cons to collective action, but there's a lot to be learned from collective action. There's great things happening, and the same people that are in the tenants union have great ideas for taking collective action, and they new ideas for a better world. So I'm stealing right from them.
Well,
Their ideas, their methods.
you just hit something specifically, say collective action, and that was the other component of what I wanted to hit as far as what we can possibly do. Like I just talked about as far as hitting the income sources to help them understand that by prolonging this, it's going to hurt everybody, including the state and the cities.
Mhm.
However, there's another component as well where we're having something illegally done to us as a group, as a sector. And,
Constitutionally legal, yeah.
and any way you want to put it, it is illegal. And
Yeah.
I firmly believe that there's a class action lawsuit of
Oh yeah.
landlords to be
Down the
able to
line.
go against what is being done.
Mhm.
Now, how this can go about, maybe hopefully a lawyer or some group that's looking to make a name for themselves as far as putting something like this together is listening to this stream right now or in a future replay, and they can somehow help organize this. Because again, my education levels and my understanding of things is limited. I don't know how to be able to put class action lawsuits together.
Not a
However,
lawyer.
no, well, yeah, I did a little bit of reading of how it works. You need at least 10 people to get it one started up, which I'm sure we could find a multiple of that to get one started up. But
Yeah, sign me up. I'm for due process of law. Throw your name on a class action lawsuit. There's several groups. They'll probably start combining, doing amicus briefs where they like say, yeah, us too, and then they kind of consolidate and then they present their case. But it takes so long, and we, who wants to wait that long to do anything, right? You want to do something now, and I'm telling you, there's so much that you can do now.
well, you can start action now.
Mm-hmm.
And by starting action now, we'll force the hand of the lawmakers to start easing up,
Mm-hmm.
going into the so, and maybe they'll be able to settle prior to actually going to trial
Mm-hmm.
by easing and putting out an olive branch. And that's basically what we're asking. Just we're not asking for everything. We're asking for just some righteousness, some justice,
Yeah.
our legal rights. That's all we're asking for. We're not asking for anything else.
We
I
need
mean,
allies though. So like it doesn't matter if you get
the
all
rest
these
of our
landlords.
groups have formed their own unions,
Yes.
and they did file suit against them. Why haven't we done the same? We should be doing the same.
Yeah. Yeah. I just think I'm with you. I'm not going to disagree or I'm not going to disagree with anything you said. I'm just going to pivot to also say, yes, you're right. And we need to enlist allies. We need to emphasize the general unfairness, and we need to do it in a diplomatic way. No one wants to hear, oh, this MFer hasn't paid me in 10 months. That's a boring story. But people do recognize the unfairness of it. And when you appeal to homeowners, when you appeal to police and firefighters that are, getting that are going to be, police hate this thing because they get called all the time about landlord tenant issues and they have no power. And all they say is, I can't do anything. And that's frustrating for us. It's probably frustrating for the tenants because, I mean, if someone went over there and busted your head in or, shut off your power, and that's bad too. But they don't get involved. No one's getting involved.
Well, don't get me started on power because there's no moratorium on Con Edison or the power companies.
Yeah, but
there's no moratorium on the gas and heating companies.
With a wrench, I can turn off the gas. I mean, it doesn't take much. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about. I'm talking about people doing constructive evictions and things that are illegal or at least morally gray. Whatever. I'm not going to parse that up. I'm just saying we need allies. We need to talk to people. We need to show people that housing affects them. That if you care about police officers or firefighters or EMTs or hospital workers, you should care about housing because what's happening between tenants and landlords is spilling over. Thankfully for me, it's only 1 out of 6, but that's a lot. For some people, it's more than that. And regardless of, even if you're all alone and everything's going good, we want you too. We want landlords to be involved because if you're just worried about yourself, wait until wait until you got some guy that got cash for keys from his last 3 landlords. He's going to get cash for keys from you. I promise you. Cash for keys, it's a short-term strategy. It's a short-term tactic, not a strategy. It's a short-term tactic. Cash for keys is going to kill us because if I'm a renter and I was like, I got $5,000 from my last landlord and the one before that. Come on, right? We got to hold the line.
There's no recourse.
No recourse.
And getting judgments is a joke. It really is.
Paper.
Because here's the thing. We're talking about the laws, how restricted they are. There's cases. One of the protected classes here in New York, which I'm sure you're well aware of, is undocumented individuals. Okay. So if somebody is undocumented, there's no social security number. There's no way to be able to trace them. Even if you get a judgment on them, how are you going to collect? These are the things that need to be addressed. Now,
They do.
Let's kind of jump into what you actually did this week.
All
'Cause
right.
I
Let's
really
do it.
want, I really want to give everybody understanding of your approach of what you've done. You know, whether they agree or not disagree. This is the valuable thing in this world that I strongly am a firm believer in. I think we all have the right to agree to disagree on various topics, regardless if we're polar opposites or not, or whether we're, we have some common ground. But
Right.
I really believe, even though this year has been a real different type of year as far as agreeing to disagree, unless you don't agree with me kind of mentality. But I'm not even going to get into that. But
It's yeah. The propaganda machine, the misinformation, where people choose to get their news, how willing they are to engage in nuance, right? There's, you get this quick impression, and unless you have, a lot of, brain behind your brain. I'm not insulting anyone. I'm just saying they only have time to care about so much. So how willing are you to look at every issue in super complex analysis, or do you see the picture of this going with this phrase and you're like, okay, now I understand this issue, right? That's kind of what's breaking everything down. And that's why civil discourse is not occurring, because no one is willing to step out of their bubble. So I'm trying to step out of my bubble. I wish the tenant advocates would meet me halfway. I emailed the tenants union. I've reached out to members of people I knew that were posting inflammatory things. I asked them for their perspective. I reached out to city council. Thankfully, I will say, one of the very prominent tenant activists on city council, Mary Lupine in Rochester, she's given me some time, and I'm really grateful to her. And I think I'm burning her out because I'm really challenging her perspective. But it's a mutual. It's a good working relationship so far. It's fruitful. It's very painful. It's hard because I'm entrenched and I'm trying to dig myself out. And I hope she's doing the same. It feels like she is. But I can't get the tenant unions on the phone. I email them. I'm like, hey, are you going to, unions usually negotiate. Like, what are you waiting for? Are you just going to fan the flames another 6 months? Like, what are you doing?
Ben, you're far too nice. You really are. You really are a nice guy.
Home is where the heart is, baby. Home is where the heart is.
You really give people way more benefit of the doubt and much more of, and believe me, I'm a believer in giving people an opportunity to relay their message and give their point of view. But especially when it comes to our lawmakers, you really are way too nice about it.
Well, I'll just tell you something about me. I've had a complex upbringing and complex life, and I've had a lot of personal struggles, and a lot of people were very nice to me. So I'll just say, you learn empathy when people are empathetic to you, and a lot of people have been very kind to me. A lot of people helped me. I was in juvenile detention when I was younger, and the mental health problems continued, and I've had a complex up and down story. So, this is, your listeners don't want to hear all that, right? I don't want to get into it. I'll work that out in therapy, or with a friend or with a family member. But it taught me some empathy. Working in mobile crisis taught me empathy. Working at Hillside Children's Center with orphans, it taught me empathy. And it's not easy. It's not easy, but the more you do it, it's a skill, I guess.
Well, don't get me wrong. I'm a firm believer in empathy and compassion.
Mm-hmm.
By far. I definitely, sorry about that. I have a strong belief for that. However,
I know you do.
When I feel that I'm offering that compassion and I'm giving that empathy time and time again, and all I get back is basically a kick in the ass.
Mm-hmm.
There's only so much that you could empathize anymore at that point. And I'm not talking about specific individuals that I'm empathizing with, because my empathy and my compassion for those people will continue.
Mm-hmm.
It's the individuals that are creating the situation that I have no empathy for. Mm-hmm. It's the people that are creating these restrictive type of situations and causing this animosity between our two different groups that I have no compassion for, because as as idealistic that it might be, the original concept of doing the right thing by housing is, I think it's been twisted and it's been grossly distorted over years with special interest groups and with politicians that are looking for votes. And again, this is my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm one of these crazy conspiracy theories kind of guys.
No,
I,
let,
I
let
don't
me.
I don't I don't believe I am.
I don't think you are, Nick. I don't think you are. On the one hand, I hear you saying you really are an empathetic person. On the other hand, you're admitting to me that you have room to grow. Right? That's what I hear you say. That you have empathy. You've done a lot of good. You want to do good. You have great intentions.
Well, I think the whole world has room to
Room
grow.
to grow. Right.
But my empathy and my compassion, I believe, is there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
There's
believe
some.
it's
Yeah.
lacking. I believe that um, true action and true approach towards the source of the issue is what needs to be addressed. And I have no empathy and I have no compassion whatsoever, and I don't believe I will anytime in the near term or long term future for our lawmakers,
Well.
because they're the ones that actually put us in this position.
Well, may I offer you two skills, and I think anyone listening can probably relate to these skills. The first is self care. Take good care of yourself. Empathy grows when we're feeling good, when we're fed, when we're getting enough sleep. Empathy diminishes when we're
Do I look like I have a problem with eating?
Nah. Hey man, me too. I may look slim, but that's why I wore a hoodie today, so you didn't see all the everything underneath. I got a six pack, but no,
By
that's the first one. Self
by,
care.
by the way, just on a side note, we'll get them next year.
Yeah, you're
One
a Bills
step at a
fan.
time. Oh yeah,
Great.
yeah. Well, you know why? Because I'm a New Yorker, and I
Okay.
refuse to root for any team that's not playing in New York.
Aha! Somebody who gets it. I like that.
So I've been a Bills fan ever since I was a little kid. It helped that as I was growing up and I was going into my teenage years, the Bills were a great team. Unfortunately, we never got one.
Mm.
But I'm a Bills fan, and I'm a big supporter. So last year we did okay. We got there.
You're
This year
telling
we got a
me.
little further, and that's all I said in the beginning of the year. If we could get the AFC Finals, I'll be happy. Once we got there, I was like, I was tasting it. I was hoping for that Super Bowl, but all right, we didn't get there. Next year, that'll be our year.
Yeah, that was thrilling. That was so much fun, and it was a light in a lot of darkness. I like getting together with people and watching, and just, we kept it small, kept it safe. I don't think anyone's doing quarantine perfectly unless you're a billionaire with an estate to walk around on. But I had some fun with it, and it was a light in a very dark place. So yeah, look for your heroes, look for your stories, look for your fun, look for the good news. It's out there. It always is. So that's one skill. I want to offer one other skill for us, and it's basically to, I'm using this word a lot, but it's to recognize others' lack of skill. So when you see a politician doing something that you know is stupid, you can get mad at him, but also after you've got his attention by being mad with him, try to educate him. If you see a tenant, or a fellow landlord, someone who should know fair housing laws, or someone who you see on a message board saying, "Oh, these MFers," say, "Hey, man, I appreciate your anger, but I don't think that's helping." I promise you, that's how we're going to get through this. If we're not decent, and we don't start looking for our tenants to be decent, and we just keep fanning the flames on both sides, we're going to stay stuck. So a lot of people gave me empathy. I had a very difficult situation recently. It needed some help, and I had some caring people help me. I should shout them out by first name. So it's Terrell, Brian, Flint, and Thomas. I appreciate all you guys, and I hope you get to watch this. I hope it comes your way somehow. But thanks for your patience with me. And I'm promising all of Rochester that I'm going to try to do better and just be a better human being, not just a better landlord.
Well, the best way to reach them is share this video once it gets posted, and make sure that they spread the word, and they hear conversations like the ones we're having, and hopefully they make their own videos and add to the conversation as well. And at the same time, um, hopefully the word will spread more and more. Um, but I don't want to get too sidetracked. I really want to get into the occurrences this week,
Okay.
and really talk about one, your approach,
Mhm.
and two, the results that you had. So enlighten everybody. Tell everybody exactly what you're doing, because I know it was posted everywhere. That's how I caught wind of it.
Hmm.
So for anybody to say I didn't know about it,
Hmm.
it's not really a great excuse, because they did know about it.
Yeah.
Now, whether they agreed or disagreed with it, or chose to or not to participate, that's their prerogative. However, it was out there, and they had the opportunity to join. So, give everybody a little understanding of what you did and what kind of results we saw.
Yeah. First of all, yeah, I felt pretty lonely out there. Believe it or not, it was just one other landlord in that little crowd of seven. We also had one of my former tenants who just thinks that fairness matters and someone I care about.
Before you even get into that, just give everybody a little bit of explanation
Oh, okay.
of
Yeah, yeah,
what
of
it was
course.
that
I
you did.
forget. I forget. We're not just me and you. We're talking to an audience. Okay. Basically, I went down and publicly paid my taxes. I tried to be a big shot, do the big shot move, grab my wad of cash and say, hey, we're out here, we're contributing to, I'm taking the high road, pay attention to me, yeah, and I was hoping a few people would join me and it would have a greater impact, if like 6 or 7 or 8 people said, hey, this is unfair, but since I'm paying, because we all know some people already paid some taxes. Instead of paying online, instead of paying by check, instead of relying on those old conveniences, just come on down, don't and make it about someone else and make a demonstration of it. So I took this big wad of cash and I paid all my taxes in full for the whole year, not just the first installment. You can check the record, right? You can see who's paid and who hasn't. My name is Benjamin Hart. I live at 493 Averill Avenue. That's my tax billing address. Paid them all.
I don't know if you want to be giving people your tax billing address, but
Hey, look it up. Look it up. I'm an authentic person. I'm sick of being anything but what I am, and trying to be something I'm not, or trying to be quiet has got me lumped in with leeches and slumlords. Like, stop calling me that. This is like, you. If you don't call that to me in my face, right? Then don't call it to me on the internet. Okay, people I know personally, or people that are my neighbors, are calling me that. And this isn't like some random message board. This is a community association message board. Like, I don't think you would say, and maybe you would, and we could talk about that. But don't do it. Don't do it if just like that. It's not going to work for me. Like, for me, this is not about the money. I can always give more money. This is about the disrespect. I feel extremely disrespected because I've worked my whole life to be an ethical person, and I've had a messy road of it. And this is just, I mean, yeah, it's not kindergarten playground stuff, but it got under my skin, and I thought this was a power move, and I wish some people joined me, but it was hard for them to get it. Everyone's angry. First of all, everyone's angry. They want to strike. They want to fight back. They want to fight fire with fire. And then the other reason, it's noon on a work day. People got toilets to change. People got full-time jobs in addition to their rental property. People got kids. They can't be down there. It was freezing. It was like 15 degrees. It was really cold. So it was hard to get people down there. And thankfully I got Spectrum News. You said to do some live streaming. Hey, I'm not a protest person. When the protests were happening here for Black Lives Matter, I got really scared. I didn't like seeing that, and I don't care if you believe in that cause, don't believe in that cause, what. It was scary for everybody. I think people matter. I think Black Lives matter. I think every life matters. And it's weird that you can't say both of those things and mean both of those things, right? So, my activism that day, and it's related to housing. My tenant, he was moving to Connecticut, and he he was moving, and it was his last night, and he had already moved his bed and everything away. And I was like, I'll just come over to my house, and that was the same night, because he's been great to me. He's been really kind to me. He paid his rent on time. And I'm not trying to use him, like, just because of who he is and anything about him. But that's how I chose to say that Black Lives Matter. Like, and it was accident. It's not like I didn't plan that, right? I didn't plan the riot plus this. I'm just telling you a true story. I told him, come stay at my house. I got a guest bedroom. And my house ain't all that, but it was better for him than the floor. Like, this is a hardworking dude. He's, I won't get too much into his personal details because I don't know how much he wants me to share about him. But basically, he's just a good dude, and it just happened that way. I mean, and that's how I chose. That's how I choose to do my activism. I'm not a demonstration type. So it was really weird. I didn't know about live streaming. I didn't think to live stream. I didn't even think to take a picture. I'm glad I didn't get cut from the news, or I would have nothing to show for it. I was so scared that Spectrum was going to cut it. Spectrum gave me 45 seconds. Look it up if you got Spectrum. Hopefully I get more coverage next time. I had no idea what I was doing. I was cutting drywall and making signs, and nobody came except for people that love me. People that have a personal relationship with me and just really care about me. And that's the apathy. And whether the apathy comes from I'm too busy, or the apathy comes from, well, I guess it usually is I'm too busy, right? But we can't be too busy.
It could be also a situation of lack of understanding of your approach.
Right.
Because I have to be honest with you, I'm not 100% on board with your approach, but at the same time, I definitely understand it.
Okay.
And I can't get my mind around where your mindset is as far as how you want to approach it. Personally, you want to get an impact, get a couple thousand people to go in there and hand over a bunch of IOUs. I think that would get somebody's attention.
That would, but I think it wouldn't humanize us, and it would play into their hands, right?
I kind of put that in. I kind of think it does actually humanize us, because
let's do it. Let's do it. Any Rochester landlords listening? Any Rochester landlords that see this later? If you don't have the kind of cash that I was blessed to have, and it was, I'm just lucky. I'm just lucky. You can call it luck, you can call it good fortune, you can call it privilege, you can call it, whatever you want to call it. I was able to do that. If you can't do that, hey, how about the next one we give them IOUs and we tell the same story, but in a different way, because I don't care. I don't care your personal financial situation. I'm not trying to be a big shot. I just wanted to do a power move, and I thought it would make a bigger impact.
I'm not saying that IOU idea is a solution or even the end all be all, or whatever the case is. I'm just throwing something that I think more people that are publicly listening and wanting to get involved with would be able to gravitate with more than that. Now, whether they follow through with those IOUs or not is another story.
That's going to be dependent on whether people work with us, whether we return to sanity, whether our politicians and our neighbors and our tenants and our homeowners and people that aren't involved in this, whether we return to sanity, our judges, right? I cannot believe their willingness to sit this one out. Come on, get in the game. You see people are really hurting and you can't get in the game. This is your civic responsibility. And there's a lot of reasons why that might be. And I could talk about them all day, but get in the game, judges. Stop, figure out how to work Zoom. Figure something out. Stop saying oh, it's not my job. People are dying. People are out of options. People are, turning off power, running water. Properties are getting destroyed. Nothing good is coming when you can't have civil discourse.
Well, I wouldn't throw the fault directly on the judges.
No, I don't either. I'm just saying they share.
Following the protocol that has been given to them.
True.
The mandates that they need to follow.
Their hands are tied.
No.
I guess I'm disappointed.
There's a couple of judges that I don't like myself at the same time.
All right, let me settle down. You're right. You're right. Let me settle down because
But it's not the judge's scenario when they're being mandated and they have a protocol they have to follow
you're
from
right.
up above.
You're
Again,
right.
it starts at the
I
top.
guess I guess there was a constitutional challenge though. And I've been following this very closely from the very beginning. And the constitutional challenge was unsuccessful. There was it was very brief. I think I don't think that they went very deep on it. So yeah, and then can they? There were moments when they could have processed a few. I don't know. I went to court. I followed Lawrence K. Marks is our the I don't know some sort of chief justice. I read a memorandum that he put out in the middle of July, and it said that you can if you apply for eviction without a lawyer, you can do that. So I applied back in July, and but then when I got to court in October, they kicked the can again. So like, why put it out and then switch it back? And I guess I'm not going to blame them. You're right. You're right. My whole purpose is to not blame anyone, but my purpose is to maybe incite, say, get in the game. If you care about any other issue, then you should care about housing, and you should be a part of the solution to fixing it. That's all. That's all I meant. Believe me, I think the judges got a lot of crap too for
But believe me, I,
openly.
I have no problem whatsoever pointing the finger and say, okay, it's his fault. Let's go get him. But
No, you're checking me. I appreciate it. No, I need
I
it.
got to be realistic about it. And and don't forget, you need these judges, so don't talk too negatively about it.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt.
So, but that being said, so you organize this effort as a movement to kind of show everybody we're coming in, we're trying to do the right thing. Please do the right thing for us. Is
Mhm.
that the mindset? Is that
That's
the
the mindset, but I felt like a worm dangling on a hook. I felt like bait, I felt like, and I've been attacked personally for doing it. It's like, and I hear the complaints, right? Oh, your biggest problem is you have all this money and you can pay your taxes, and then you have enough reserves. But I mean, it challenged me. Don't get me wrong, it stressed me. Over the summer, I was door dashing. I picked up side jobs. I put on a garage roof. I painted some lady's porch. I got on next door and started looking for side jobs. Man, I hustled and I scrimped and saved. I mean, I took, this guy owes me 8,400. My tax bills for all those my other properties is 6,000. And also, let me back up. Shout out to every one of my paying customers that didn't miss a beat. And shout out to my customers that missed a beat and started hustling too and are working their butts off, going without, looking for help, asking for help, using their unemployment money once they got it, right? 90-day moratorium, okay, let people get their unemployment. It's gone on too long, but 90-day moratorium, if it was just like, let people get their unemployment, that's why once we roll out this aid, but they failed us. They didn't roll out the aid. They just keep kicking the can down the road because the problem is growing and there's no plan. There's no
well,
plan.
well, here's the thing. A lot of the people that have not been paying have also collected unemployment, even if they're not working.
Hmm.
Why hasn't a portion of what they've gotten back from unemployment gone to the housing providers and covered some of the ground that needed to be covered?
Yeah.
It's unwillingness to
Hmm.
to do that. And it's funny that you call them customer because it is a business.
Yeah.
It's because I tend to call a lot of the tenants that are in the business in the buildings that I'm dealing with, my residents. You know, sometimes I say my people. That's
All
that
business is people business. All business is people business. I
but
once, it's funny the moments that change your life. I went to this free executive coaching session that was offered by the young professionals, young professionals of Rochester. And I just met this guy and he gave me advice that changed my life. He said, you can own 6 buildings and have nothing. You can own 10 buildings and have nothing. Because if your customers don't like you, they're going to get you. The customer is always right. When they're not right, when they're really not right, you ask a judge to help, right? But you can have all the capital, all the land in the world, and an angry mob can still get you. so so I have to respond to their needs. I think some of them are wacky, and I won't rent to those people. Maybe I need to start looking at their social media posts and saying, hey, I'm not going to rent to this guy if he, people are putting a lot of stuff out there. Screening is critical. That's a skill that is underutilized. You got to screen people.
Well, do it while you can, because I guarantee you that's going to be something that's going to become a protected class as well down the line here in New York.
Maybe. Yeah.
Well, right now,
how would you do that? I mean, maybe political beliefs, right? You can't.
well, right now you can't forget about the cultural and racial discrimination that they implied in there.
That's important.
That's something that would need to be addressed. I'm talking about strictly on financial basis. They basically have protected people of showing what kind of work they do. So if somebody's working through a bordello, but they have the funds available to rent the place, you have to rent to them, and you can't discriminate against that, whether it's illegal or illegal type of action. If they have the funds available, you have to take them in as tenants, whether they're documented or not documented. And I jumped down to that a little earlier. You still have to take them. So why not? The only things that are really left that you can use as a way to screen tenants are a credit report, which I strongly feel that with time and a push, that they'll even protect against that. And screening on social media right now is acceptable, but the eyes are on social media and big tech right now, and how they operate as far as showing what publicly what can be seen and not be seen. We not be able to see a lot of the stuff that we currently can down the line through social media, because things might have to get privatized.
Well, it was just a thought. I hadn't thought of it before. The only reason I'm thinking of these things is because I'm synergizing with you, man. Every time I talk to somebody, I learn a little bit more.
I'm just making a comment. I like to use the social media platforms as well. Like if you have somebody that you're whether you're hiring them, whether you're putting them as a tenant, whether you're qualifying them one way or another. Sometimes when I take a look at people that I'd like to join my real estate team, I need to take a look at what they're posting, what they're not posting, what their public images and that kind of stuff. So if they're sitting there with an army of people with AK-47s with bongs in their hands, that's typically not the people I want to have on my team, because it could work out well for the people that are into the guns and into the bongs, but in the general public, it's not a good image to have. Same thing.
Well, leaving the social media aside and whether it's going to be legal or illegal, I guess the point is screening matters. Screening matters. You got to screen people. It's boring. It's tedious. I ask for personal references, and I do a home visit, and I go to their current living situation, and I try and get to know them a little, and I want them to know me. And I think another strategy, we want to keep boundaries. You told me, hey, don't tell people your tax billing address, but you can give someone your personal references. Say, hey, these are my last 3 tenant customers, or I'm working on a testimonials list. I'm kind of surprised, how many people are saying nice things about me. I'm surprised how many people I thought, that I asked to say something nice about me that didn't. It seems like I got some work to do. So, but I think, testimonials, branding yourself is a little more ethical, right? Holding yourself to a high standards. Nick, you could highlight that you're a realtor. I'm sure you do. That you live in both worlds, that you're beholden to an ethical standard. People are mad about Zillow taking over, real estate.
Don't get me started.
But there's still value in the ethical codes that we live by, right? There's still, I guess, when I was really fired up about this, and once I hit my breaking point, because I was staying silent and just reading and just working, I'm like, this will work itself out. After 90 days, I'll figure something out. After 120 days, I'll figure something out. After 150 days, I'll figure something out. And I only recently started taking action because I'm a person who's kind of thoughtful, maybe too thoughtful, right? I just overanalyze, I drive myself crazy, but I was just being thoughtful. But when I was getting in the game, like, and really entering this protest mindset, or this like, hey, I can't sit on the sidelines. I kind of said to myself, like, what I got, they can't take from me. You know, the skills I have, the person I am, they can't take that from me, and they can't take my story from me. And I'm going to fight back. This is my moment, and I'm going to meet the moment, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to fight back, but I'm going to fight back in the uncivil war as a civilized person that is fighting for truth. I'm not fighting for landlords. I'm not fighting for tenants. I'm fighting for truth. I mean, I'm sounding like a politician, but like, I just hate the way it is. I hate the way it's gotten, and it's spilling over everywhere. And the well is poisoned. We gotta treat the water. We gotta fix this. It takes everybody.
Well, you're right about that. I mean, action needs to be taken, and we need to be doing everything we can on different levels. And you're doing what you can. I'm doing what I can. Others are doing what they can, and it's a lot better of doing something than just sitting back and not doing something. And I give a lot more credit to somebody that is doing something, whether I agree with them or not, because they're actually taking actions and putting their money where their mouth is, as far as standing by their convictions.
Yeah.
Rather than like you said, hiding in posts and little blogs and stuff like that, and not really doing anything about it. So, and that's one of the reasons why I keep advocating for people to start having their voice heard more and more and more. So let's kind of continue the story right now. So you took this process, you went in there, few people showed up. The results that you achieved, were they the results that you were expecting? Were they in line? Were they disappointing? Or do you feel like it's a beginning?
Yeah. First of all, thank you for saying that you're willing to engage with me, whether you agree with me or disagree with me. I saw your cast with Rich Tyson. Rich Tyson and I strategized and synergized. And Rich, I'd really like to keep talking with you. You said that you would go into the room with with anybody and talk to them. You go right up to those tenant activists, knowing that they hate you. I don't hate you. I think we have a shared common vision and a shared common goal. So please talk to me. You didn't have to unfriend me on Facebook, because I kind of poked you a little bit, and I thought I made you think about some different things, just heart to heart. And I'll say this to him too. I've been trying to reach out to him, but moving on. Yeah, your question about, was it my expected results? I have no clue what I'm doing. I'm not a protester. I'm not. I'm a thoughtful person. I like to read and maybe write and respond, and but I guess I'm trying to meet the moment, right? You don't have a battle plan when the war starts. You develop as it goes, and the uncivil war has begun. So get in the game, and find ways to make an impact. I guess is what I'm trying to say. Get in the game and make mistakes. I really wish people would just jump on board, right? I got this great idea. Come on down. I'm going to pay my taxes. You can pay your taxes. Everyone pays their taxes. And if you can't, you say why. And we're just going to have a lot of people on camera, and everyone's going to come down, and boom, there we go. But that's not how it works. It's a lean startup. You try something else. I've done all sorts of stuff. You can go to my YouTube. Some of my stuff is really wacky and out there. And, it scares some people, like, because my McLeacherton videos are, something's a little off there. But I had fun making that character. So check them out.
I definitely will. I didn't realize that. I've been seeing most of your stuff through Facebook. Didn't realize you had a portal through YouTube as well. So I'm definitely going to check it out.
It's about a week. It's about 2 weeks old. Like I said, I'm on the fly here. Like, I'm in the cockpit and just
So we'll
Seat of
make
my
sure that by
pants.
the end of the show, you give everybody the information how to go on to that and where how to be able to contact you as well. But
Sure. I'm devoting my whole Facebook to anyone interested in this, and the links are there. I'm not sure how to give it to you. It's not like a clean link. It's not like, but it's like, yeah.
I'll tell you what, shoot the link over to me and I'll post it at the bottom of the video after it gets posted.
I appreciate that.
Everybody can get to
Appreciate
you.
that.
And if there's any other ways that people get a hold of you that want to as well.
And Nick, I appreciate your courage, because you put yourself out there. You told me that some of your listenership was flagging a while, and it's because you took a stand. So good for you. I'm taking my stand. I think you got to have a line in the sand for decency and communication and civility. And closing civil court is not the way to have a civil conversation, right?
Well, I look at it like this. Everybody need. I'm a person that strongly believes in that you have to have a position and you have to have some type of conviction and stand by it, and be able to back your words up in one way or the other. Now, as realtors, real estate agents, we have a very difficult position normally through our jobs that we need to not ruffle any feathers often,
True.
one way or the other.
True.
Whether you're advocating for landlords, whether you're advocating for tenants, whether you're advocating for sellers, whether you're advocating for buyers, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
And serving a diverse clientele, right? You want to serve and work with a lot of people. If you ruffle feathers, you want to be. I get you.
And so a lot of us try to be as vague, as neutral as humanly possible. By taking that gray area kind of approach, where we're not pushing for you, we're not pushing that, we just want your business kind of approach.
Right.
And a few years ago, when I first started my radio show, I made a personal I took a personal action for myself to say that I'm going to be tackling topics on the radio and on the show itself of not necessarily saying what's popularly accepted, and not necessarily something that is going to make one side or the other side happy. It's just going to be putting out the facts, putting out the information, giving my own insights and opinions, and helping everybody in the best possible way to give a complete understanding of what it is that we're looking for to. And that's whether we're looking at like what we're dealing with right now, the eviction moratorium, whether we're looking at the foreclosure crisis, whether we're talking about big tech and big banks doing too much to over leverage us, whatever the case is, landlord tenant issues, housing, public housing, I'll tackle anything. So I was treading water up until about a year ago of not wanting to take one side more than the other, and not necessarily kind of planting my feet in the ground when it came to this topic, because it is polarizing.
Yeah.
And you have a lot of tenants that are really on high anxiety about this. But I thought to myself, am I really being true to myself? Am I really being true to my core audience by just giving blah 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 kind of information?
Yeah.
So what I decided to do is take a more forward approach. I don't necessarily advocate one side more than the other when there's no reason to. So if it was vice versa, where the tenants were having injustices brought to them, I would be all for it too. I mean, I tackled subjects that are controversial and that kind of thing. And I did, like when Newsday did that expose with in cooperation in New York State on discrimination on housing in Long Island. I was all over it the next day on the radio. And I was talking about it. I was talking with my board op. He's actually African American. So we were having a really open conversation of things that had happened. What have you dealt with? What do I see? That kind of thing. and I have no issue tackling these type of topics. So I felt that it's time for me to be genuine
Mhm.
and not hold anything back. And
Okay.
I did lose some viewership. I lost subscribers. That's okay because
They'll come back.
they were probably not my core audience to start with. And over time, people that do appreciate what I have to say will come aboard. And even if they don't, that core audience that I have that's with me, they're going to at least appreciate what I have to say. At least I hope they do. And if
Yeah.
they don't, comment down below and tell me how much you hate me. So you can let me know.
Yeah, yeah. I'm expecting some hate mail, but the love mail feels really good too. So any kind of mail,
I have no issue with it. Good, bad, and the ugly. It doesn't matter to me.
my best friend told me the wise man likes the rebuke. The wise man appreciates the rebuke because it helps him adjust course. It helps him perfect his message. The wise person wants constructive criticism, and obviously it doesn't feel very constructive when someone just MFs you. But even that, it's like if you get one, well, that you can say whatever. But if you get 60, maybe you did something, off base. So, like I guess just yeah, keep it coming. I love attention. I'm a middle child, so put me in the middle of everything. I'm the peacemaker and the troublemaker all wrapped into one, and that's what I'm doing.
Well, like I said, everybody has the right to agree to disagree. You don't like what I have to say it. I'm not gonna get affected. I'm a big boy. You know, you have to have a thick skin. Obviously, if you're a realtor, you got to have a thick skin. That's something that we have to deal with half the time. But um, it's part of the thing. And if you're going to be putting yourself out there to be either on public radio or if you're going to be putting yourself out to make videos on YouTube and other platforms, you have to be ready for any kind of comments, good or bad. So that's okay.
I
So
am worried. I mean, I got skeletons in my closet. There's a lot of mistakes I made coming up. I feel like I'm a better man today. Uh, you know, I'm worried about exposés. I'm worried about, some sexual choices I made. I'm worried about some, business deals I did. I'm worried about a lot. But what choice do I have? I think we have to recognize people's good intentions, and you like at a certain point, calling each other out because you're not woke enough or because you don't work hard enough or because you're this or because you're that. Because it goes both sides. People on the left, they love to say, "Oh, you're not woke. Why don't you try reading Karl Marx? You'd learn something. Why don't you try some compassion? You whatever." And then on the right, they're like, "Hey, why don't you get a job? Why don't you do like?" It's not helpful. We're going nowhere. We're in a race to the bottom. Cut it out. Be polite to one another. And I might say something different to you, Nick, than I would say to someone else. But like, be polite, but be real. Be as real and as authentic as you can be, but be polite.
I have no issue calling people out, as you could clearly see,
Yeah,
and
I
I
like
have
it. I
no,
respect it.
and I have no issue with people calling me out. But the people that I have issue with are the ones that call you out and have no backing to what they're saying
Mm-hmm.
and no justification. Or when you're saying something and then you disappear once it's addressed and once it's answered, that doesn't. I have no respect for that.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't agree with me about something, great. Let me know whether you agree with it, if that's
Yeah,
bother you that much, and tell me why you don't agree with me. Now,
I
at
hope
the end of the
so.
day,
I hope so. I
we
guess.
might not agree at the end of the day, regardless, but I'll at least understand your point of view and your stance, and you'll understand my point of view and my stance.
Yeah.
And we
Sometimes you
can
got to let
respect
people
that.
go, though, right? Isn't that what we're talking about? If someone comes at me and says, "Hey, you," I mean, there's things people could say to me that would really disrespect me and would end the conversation. But where's the middle ground, right? And I'm not expecting everybody to give me time. I don't think equal time is a thing, right? You can't get equal time because some views don't deserve discussion. Some views are just no good. When we're advocating violence, when we're advocating, I've had a lot of people try and poke me and say, "Oh, Ben, you're too nice. why don't you go over there and like remodel the kitchen on it? And I'm like,
you are too nice. I'll tell you that straight away. You are too nice.
I'm not going to remodel the kitchen on him. This isn't about him. This isn't about,
you
it
are
can't be about him. If I make it,
in my opinion, you are way too nice.
all right, well,
And you give way too much.
I'm not nice. I'm shifty. You got to watch your back around me. I'll turn on you in a second. And I'm not too nice. I'm a hustler. I'm not nice. I'm a dirty, low down trickster. But I'm not going to do something purposefully cruel and illegal. I might say one thing to you and one thing to you and try to keep the peace and try to stir the pot depending on my needs. But I'm not gonna go over there and make this guy's hell. He must be going through a lot. I swear, he must be going through a lot to not pay and not talk to me. You know, one of my posts was when I just said, "Hey man, if you can't pay, if you can't pay," because I'm trying for a NYSERDA grant. You know, New York State does some things right. You know, they're working on trying to make these homes more energy efficient. I've had some great grants from the county and the state, and I think they're wonderful. So I'm putting it out there, but yeah, I don't know. He won't even do that. It's like it costs you nothing but a conversation with me and a signature, and your energy bills will drop. He won't do it. I think he really doesn't trust me, and I don't know what I did. I know a couple things I did wrong, but I think he's also going through his own stuff, and he's got some misdirected anger. And
that goes back to what I was saying about being nice. Why are you blaming yourself for somebody just not?
I'm not blaming
communication. You kind of are. You're blaming.
No. He's my teacher. He's my teacher. The most difficult people that are brought into your life, they're going to teach you something. They may teach you how to walk away, right? Some people aren't worth engaging with. Some people, it's like, this guy's got nothing for me. And you learn how to walk away. And that's all the lesson they can teach you. I can't just walk away from this guy. I'm stuck with him if I want to keep my house. But he's still my teacher. As difficult as he is, he's teaching me compassion. He's teaching me better branding. He's teaching me better screening skills. He's teaching me a lesson, and I can either choose to take the lesson, or I can get pissed off and make a mistake and hurt him or hurt myself or hurt someone that has nothing to do with this. You know, get really pissed off, go over there, you know, and then there's a fight, and then, you know, something bad is witnessed, and then it's like I can't afford that. So you know, not that doesn't happen anyway. Even here at home, I feel badly for my wife. She's going through a lot, and all my family, because I'm in a lot of pain, and they're loving me and supporting me through it.
Well, it looks like on the comment board, some people are on board with me with my anti-Cuomo rhetoric. Driver's seat has commented, "Let's evict Cuomo," and Cuomo is trifling that he is resuming indoor dining on Valentine's Day. Trifling. Nah, I can't really understand it.
Evict Cuomo's not a bad slogan. I am kind of mad. He's living in a state-sponsored mansion. You know, I think that gets people's attention. But I guess, like, get people's attention. But then
how about the fact that he gave himself an increase?
He did?
Yeah. Well, how's that work out? You're
He's
cutting people's jobs.
A lot of money. He won't tax any billionaires.
You're taking away people's livelihoods, and you're giving yourself an increase on top of it. While collecting your Emmy.
He refuses to tax any billionaires. He's not as progressive. Like, if you're on the left and you're listening, and you're probably not, maybe you are, but if you're on the left and you're listening, he's not as progressive as he pretends to be. You know, progressive taxation, there's arguments for progressive taxation, right? You say, hey, you have access, Amazon CEO, you've got access to our roads. The only way you can have this network of cars and drivers and infrastructure is because we wired it up for you, bro. You can't, we have a coast to coast superhighway, and you're making billions off of us. You owe us a little something extra. You owe us 70% instead of 60%, instead of 50, instead of 40, instead of 30. But that's the whole other argument from, we're going to change the rules in the middle of the game, and we're going to seize property from people that we don't like, just because we don't like them. Just because they're a part of a certain group, just because they earn their living a certain way. We have a lot to answer for as landlords, right? We do, but we earn our living a certain way, and it's not by murdering people. It's not by really, really doing horrible things. It's usually by doing the best we can, but hey, people will say putting someone out on the street when there's no safety net is murder. And I have to listen to that. I would like to see more safety net. Mary Lupine, thank you for posting. City Council, you posted recently about some, I read the article. I don't have all the details, but they're making housing for homeless. Believe me, I will feel better when this man is evicted, because I hope, God willing, he will leave. He will move on. Maybe not evicted, but he will move on. And through some process of law or some process of understanding, I hope this man moves on, and I wish him the best, whether I get paid or not. And I hope he has some place to go. And I don't want to see him out on the street. I don't. That helps no one.
So it's clear that you have a real understanding and compassion for the other side, and I think we all do. We might be approaching it in a different way, one from the other. um you know you're upstate, so you're a little bit more kind than me, that's grizzled down in the city. So
You got to move faster. Hurry makes
Well,
you. Hurry makes you.
we're a little bit more, hardened down here because of just the volume of the kind of stuff that we deal with. But that being said, you know, I think we're all unison as far as trying to work with the other side in order to make things happen. But after the events this past, what was it, Wednesday, right? You had
Yeah.
the walking in and City Hall.
Yeah.
What do you feel that you would, if you had to do everything over again in a week or 2 weeks, start over again and conduct something like that all over again? What would you do differently, or
Simple.
what would you do the same?
Simple. Grassroots support, grassroots efforts.
Do you feel you gave it enough time to build, to grow organically?
I gave it all the time I could because taxes were due February 10th. I gave it everything I could. You saw me throwing stuff behind it. I have about 15, 20 videos on my YouTube. I gave it everything I could. I gave it creative characters. I posted, and I put it on the realtor message board, and they told me, "Hey, pump the brakes. You're doing too much." It was a good conversation. It's not the place for that. I'm not supposed to harp my message, but they said, a few people have complained. Be intentional what you post here, and the same for the 19th Ward Community Association. Because I'm not just preaching to landlords. We can get into groups all we want. I'm preaching to them, and I'm stirring the pot. I got 111 comments. 50 of them were mine because I respond individually to every person I try to that says something.
Well, have you seen that? Have you seen that cancel everything video I created through Landlords Are Human?
I think I did.
If you haven't, check it out.
All right.
Because it was a clear answer and a clear question. Like it basically, it's harping on to, well, if we cancel rent, what else are we going to be canceling? Are we going to be canceling medical bills? Are we going to be canceling the cost of food? Are we going to be costing it? I went down a whole line of things, and then kind of left it open and ended with a question of, once we cancel everything, who's left to work and who would want to work, basically, kind of a thing.
Yeah. Well, so people that are very poor and desperate, they don't mind a hard reset. They don't mind a hard fresh start. They want none of our laws they've got nothing. And so they want a restart, right? This is what Karl Marx talked about. Marx said, you kind of just reset, and then everyone owes everything, and then new incentive structures or central plans. He's been discredited, right? He contributed a lot. There's a lot that Marx contributed to the world, but he's been discredited because exactly what you're saying. Distortion of incentives. The incentives become distorted. And the historical incentives, right? I delayed having a family. I delayed having kids. I delayed a lot of things. I didn't go to school. I got my GED. I did go to school, but I got my GED. I took a non-traditional path. I delayed going to get my master's. I'm working on it now. But I delayed a lot of things, and I made a lot of choices, and I worked 80 hours a week. And I think that's what really bothers and really hurts people is like, hey, I slipped on the roof and I got medical bills. You know, I can't work as hard as I used to be when I was young. Can I keep some of what I got? I built this business from not from nothing, right? I don't want to say I built it from nothing because everybody helped me. I had so much help. I had so much help to get what I got. But don't I deserve something? Right? Why are you trying to take from me? You want me to step out of my shoes? You can have those. You want to share my toothbrush? Like, why do you want all my stuff? Like, I got nothing. You're just gonna take my house? Come on. You're saying that because you got nothing. But I built something here. I did some work there. I'm entitled to the fruits of my labor. They say I'm not entitled to the fruits of my labor because when they think of landlords, they think of someone that inherited their wealth, inherited their buildings, didn't put any upkeep in. They've got a certain mentality.
And it could be farther from the truth.
It could not be. No, it could not be.
I've been working since I was, if child labor laws existed within a household and they didn't go after it, my parents would be.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Ever since I can remember as a small kid, my father had a bakery that he created as an immigrant in Astoria. And from 2, 3 years old, I was in that place. I don't remember ever not being in that place and not working. So I grew a work ethic from a very early age.
Ugh.
And I put in the hours. A lot of people don't know what working 18, 20-hour shifts are. And this is no exaggeration. For me, a normal work day would be 12 to 14 hours. And it still is to some extent right now, and sometimes even longer, because it's been ingrained in me for all these years of, if I got things to do, I got to finish them. I can't just, stop. I got to keep going. It's 7 days a week and that kind of thing. So I've always known, hard work. I've known the ability of not being given anything. I've always been known the ability that I have to earn my place wherever I am.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I take it a little personally when a lot of people don't want to take that effort and they just want to have things given to them or handed out to them just because, and I don't like the just because answer. If you're able-bodied, these two hands that everybody has, not everybody has them, but some people do have them.
Mm-hmm.
And this brain that's in between your two ears function,
Mm-hmm.
your legs function, and even if they don't, you could still do something.
Mm-hmm.
You could still make an earning. You could still make a living and do something to better yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody that has all these abilities and all everything as far as health afforded to them,
Mm-hmm.
has no excuse for me. I really don't believe that you could do something. Maybe you're doing
You're losing me there. You're losing me there.
Maybe you're doing the kind of work that you might not necessarily like.
Mm.
And believe me, I've done plenty of work that I didn't like.
Mm.
But there's work out there.
Mm.
You might be cleaning, bathrooms. You might be working at a cemetery digging ditches. You might be, filling up bags at a supermarket. But whatever you're doing something.
Well, I just twirl my mustache all day. That's all I do. I just twirl my mustache and rub my hands together and say, "Where's the money?"
Oh, you're the evil landlord.
No, but Nick, no. On a serious note,
where's your monocle?
Yeah, no. On a serious note, thank you for sharing your story. I think your story is important.
It gives people a better understanding of what my standpoint is, why I operate the way I do.
Exactly. And there's two things that we value in life as human beings. We value to work and we value to love. Think about anything you do and that you care about. It's either because you work for it or because you just love it. There's really nothing else. So I'm passionate about work too. I think there's barriers to work. There's a lot of, imbalance of opportunity. I think there's historical injustices. There's imbalances that we have to be corrective and intentional about fixing. But I also think like, yeah, there's potential everywhere. There's opportunity everywhere. You know, who's going to get it and who isn't and why not? And if they're, you know, if they're not because they're hooked on drugs or because they, you know, let's get them some help. Let's offer them some help, I guess. Right. And if they still choose to take it, they're going to have some natural consequences. Hopefully not homelessness and death, but hopefully some natural consequences. Like, hey, man, if you really, whatever your problems are in life, you know, if it's temporary, that's one thing. But if it's just over and over and over again, don't expect everybody to forgive you easily. And I had to learn that too. All the mistakes I made, all the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth chances I got. But I think most people know I'm doing the best I can. And when you show that, you know, you get results. When you show your ass, you know, I mean, I'm too close to this issue with this man. I feel like he's showing me his ass, but maybe he's doing the best he can too. You know, I don't know.
Again, you're giving too much validity to what other people are.
I'm just giving you something to think about and talk about.
You ever think of the fact that just some people are just bad people?
No,
some people just don't do the right thing.
Yes, I do that. I believe that some people do not do the right thing, but they do it intentionally. So
my definition, those are bad people.
That's fair.
When you're doing something to harm somebody, financially, physically, mentally, psychologically, you're bad. You're not a nice person. You know, that's the truth. You know,
well,
I'll never go out there to harm somebody.
Yeah,
have the intention of doing.
Do you think they really do go out? You know, eventually they do, but do you think
when you throw cement down somebody's toilet, right before you're about to move out of the place, you're doing something bad to somebody.
Yeah, you are.
When you smash windows every other day and you're calling 311 and saying this landlord won't come and fix my windows and it's broken,
right?
You're doing something bad.
But here's my question. Were they born and had a perfectly reasonable upbringing? Then they rented from you and then they got that way. What happened in between? Did they have a past landlord that was, you know, that really hurt them? Or their past situation?
Honestly, Ben, I don't mean to cut you off. Yeah. But everybody's personal journey and past is really none of your concern.
Well, it is. You better screen them.
No, but I'm saying psychologically.
I'm not trying to.
What's factored into why they're bad people, not bad people, or disturbed or not disturbed? That's really not our fault.
It's not our fault. That is a very good reminder, and I'm not gonna. My heart is not gonna bleed for everybody, and that's the point. I'm gonna screen them. I'm gonna keep them a million miles away from me. But I guess I just know that the people who do that, you know, I know a woman and I've never rented to her and she's expressed interest, I know people who I know have been burned and I keep boundaries with them. You know, they say, hey, let me rent your place, whatever. I can't. I'm going to rent to the best applicant and you're not it. And that's nothing personal. I did my due diligence. I did not do it because of your skin color, your sexual preference, your disability, none of that. But I looked at the facts. I looked at your personal references. I looked at your income. I looked at what I know about you that I'm legally allowed to look into, and I can't work with you. But when I hear a story like that, it does make me think, who hurt him? Who hurt that person? Someone must have hurt him. Right? That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying it's my job to fix them. It's not my job to therapize them. It's not my job to truly understand their whole freaking story, their whole life. But it is my job to say just that. Somebody hurt them, and that's why they act the way they do. And that's it. Once I do that, job's done. But that's all you got to do, and then you can move on. Hating him is doing me nothing. I'm not going to hate a man over money. I don't care if it's $10,000 or nothing. He can have, like, if it really comes down to it, I'm not gonna bust this guy's head. He can have the whole house. I will never bust. You hurt. Hey, if you're listening and you're my tenant, I will not bust you over the head with a flashlight. I will let you have the house before I do that. I will let you have the house before I do that. But I will work every process of law to get you off of my plate. I don't want to deal with you. You're driving me crazy. Go away.
Everybody is listening to that. Make sure that you're become a tenant of Ben's, because
yeah, come get me. Oh man. Oh yeah. Good old Ben Hart. Home is where the heart is. Yeah, just rip his heart right out.
I'm not looking to harm anybody. I'm not looking to hurt anybody anyway. Like I said, neither financially or physically. But the thing is, if you're hurting me financially,
yeah,
and you're not paying, or you're doing harm that's actually costing me more than what I would even be collecting in income, all I want is for you to leave. Please, just leave. I want you out. That's basically what it comes down to.
Yeah, move on. Go to your next opportunity. Absolutely. And I guess what I would say is, like, man, I
found your channel.
I think if you,
as we're on this Zoom, I found your channel, and I'm actually going to be putting it onto the live chat. That way, everybody can have that. And after, like I said, once we process the video, I'm gonna have it posted on there as well.
Thank you. I guess what I want to say is that if he, like, I keep losing it. Oh yeah. Here's what it is. If you asked me 3 months ago what was going through my head, you wouldn't want to know. We're not judged by what we think, right? I thought about hurting this guy, and I hated myself when I was thinking about it. I thought about all sorts of things. We're not judged by what we think. We're judged by what we do. And instead of following that primal instinct, he hurt me, I'm going to hurt him right back. I just did my best not to. And then when it's time to make a move, you make the move. So this is my move. I'm still standing, and I'm still out here with everybody else. I'm still fighting. I'm still fighting for me and my story. And I don't want him to take my house. I don't want to take my wealth. I don't want him to take what I work for. But I'm just saying, like, you're not judged by what you think, and you're not judged by being angry. You can be angry all day, but you got to channel the anger into something positive. And it's very hard right now. It's very hard right now, but hey.
See, the thoughts of myself harming somebody never even crossed my mind.
Really?
And, no, and I'll tell you why. I live in New York.
Yeah.
I look at somebody the wrong way. I breathe on somebody the wrong way. I walk a certain way. I'm going to get sued.
Mm-hmm.
So I have no
dude, okay. I thought you were gonna go deeper. I mean, yeah, I think about it, right? I think about all sorts of crazy things, right? When we're really angry, I think about things, and it may only last that split second, but I think about things. But yeah, I'm just saying, like, I know that's no good. I learned that's no good. I got into scrapes when I was a kid. I punched in the nose, I got punched in the nose, and it got me nowhere. So, it's better to make YouTube videos. As wacky as they are, it's better to talk about it. It's better to, take your, and it's crazy to say, but it's better even to let them have my house. I'm going to fight them tooth and nail the right way, but I'm not going to fight them the wrong way, I guess. That's all.
So bottom line, after this whole experience, this whole journey that's brought you up until this point where you were paying your taxes, and this conversation that we're having going forward, what do you think your approach is going forward? Like, what do you think is left? What alternatives do you have as far as how to be able to approach this in a reasonable and fulfilling type of a way?
My approach is to start listening, right? I got everyone's attention. Now my approach is to start listening and get other people engaged. and I'm going to listen actively. I'm going to listen attentively. I'm going to reflect what they're saying. I'm going to think about what they're saying, and I'm going to try to let the seed germinate, let the seed spread, right? I'm going to, now that I've talked to you and you've got your good idea of going down and doing IOUs, hey, you don't necessarily have to do IOUs,
Listen,
right? You don't,
that was an idea.
you could still, it's a great idea. You could still pay your taxes and still go down with an IOU in support. You know, throw a stack of paper down, just say boom, boom, boom. You don't literally have to owe them shit, but you're just saying like, bro, if they can just owe us, then we can just owe you. It's a reminder. It's like, it's a move. It's a bluff. It's a, you know, it's a poker hand. It's not, it doesn't have to be real. We don't all have to do the same thing, but we all have to work together. You know, this is in Rules for Radicals. His name is Saul Alinsky, and he came to Rochester. There's a ton of stuff in there. He says the specific ends are useful. They meet the means justify the ends specifically, right? So if we're in Nazi Germany and we're resisting the Nazis, the ends justifies the means. You get those you murder them, right? You literally do everything you can, but we're not in Nazi Germany. We're in the United States of America. We're a wonderful country with wonderful people. So the specific ends justifies the means. He planned this great idea to get his ideas out there. He was working for, you know, Kodak. I love Kodak. I'm not trashing them, but at that time, there were discriminatory practices of a lot of places. They didn't hire Black people, right? So he went in there, he organized a fart in, or maybe he just talked about it. I don't know. I read the book. They just ate a lot of beans and went to the George Eastman house, philanthropic George Eastman, right? And they all just ate beans and acted wild, you know? And then they were trying to get the socialites of that time to say to their husbands, I don't care. You're ruining my evening. You know, that's the way it was then. Like the wealthy elites we weren't getting their attention. So yeah, anyways, it's grassroots efforts. It's getting everyone engaged. And if it means taking a stack of IOUs, let's do it. You know, I think that's a great idea. I'm going to try to see if Rich will get on board with it. And we'll do another one on a warmer day, maybe on a weekend.
The only thing with you, if you're seed there, they already know you. They got your money. So
yeah, they got me. I'm a sucker. They got me. I'm telling you, I'm a worm on a hook. Come save me. Get in the game. If you're listening now, if you see this later, get in the game. I need you. I need help. I'm out there as bait. They got me. They got me. They got me pinned up against the wall. I need some help. And I need some help from you too, tenant advocates. I want to know, Tenants Union of Rochester. I'm calling you out. Tenants Union of Rochester, I've emailed you. I called you yesterday. Unions usually negotiate. They don't just represent the people, the lazy workers. They represent all workers. So are you representing the needs of tenants? My good, healthy, well-paying tenants, the ones that I care about, the ones that care about me, the ones I have personal relationships with? Do you care too? Or do you just care about the ones that don't pay? Because you're going to lose steam too if you don't come to the table. I set the table here, right? I set the table. Come eat.
Okay, let's see how if they take you up on your challenge. You know, but like I said, we're gonna have that rally here in New York City on the 18th.
Thank you for doing that.
Just doing a reminder for everybody. It's gonna be on the 18th, between 12 to 3 at Gracie's Mansion. Hoping to have a good turnout. We might get frozen out. Who knows how the weather's gonna be? But I know that there'll be some people that show up. If there's not a lot of people that's showing up, I'll be there by myself. And I'll do my best to live stream while I'm there to give everybody a live type of look of what's happening. So if I am by myself there, that's going to be pretty embarrassing. And
that's what I was afraid of. That's why I found people who love me. Because if I mean, you better call your cousin, your sister, your whoever. It's like I said, it's grassroots.
I'll tell you what, whether I'm embarrassed or not, I'm still gonna do it.
Grassroots, baby. I appreciate your courage. And hey, Rich Tyson. Hey, anyone listening? Hey, anyone in Rochester that I've talked to, commented on my post. I think Karen Hess, you've really been a wonderful person. I tagged you in a post today. Get your friends, get your family. Let's do something. Rochester, what day of the week is the 18th?
I believe Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Wednesday or
Okay.
Thursday.
All right. Well, maybe we could do something or soon after. Let's do something too. Rochester, let's stand in solidarity with all of New York State and just say,
Well, it's going to simultaneously happen in Albany as well. I'm not
oh
sure.
yeah, I know. Hey, I'd have to look at my calendar. I think I've done a good amount. I can do a lot more. It's just the beginning. I can't promise I'll be there on the 18th, but who's with me? Like who else? Who's next? Who's next in line? If they shut me down, big tech shuts me down. I mean, I think that's a conspiracy. I don't think that's true. But if someone shuts me down, or if I slip and fall in this icy weather, if I get sick, if I gotta, spend time with my wife, who's with me, right? Who else is doing this on February 18th, Rochester, New York? Stand in solidarity. Stand in solidarity. Don't be apathetic. February 18th. Let's do a solidarity rally. I love it.
Well, if you're going to have a movement like that going along, you might not want to spread the group that goes to Albany, because you might have some Rochester people that are heading over to
Oh, I
Albany.
gotcha. Yeah, the
You might
capital
not
is
want to. You might not want to have that group spread out. But again, who am I to say these things?
no, you're right. You're right. The optics is good because I think in front of those buildings, especially, you're right. That the optics of that, get them down to Albany. I can't make the drive on a Wednesday. I'm sorry, but
But again, if you wanted to set up another group that can't make it to Albany to show up in Rochester simultaneously,
different day.
you,
Yeah.
you better get working at it. There's only a few days left to get something organized like that. I'd love to see something like that accomplished.
All right. Well, we'll keep workshopping the strategies. Like I said, this is grassroots. This means if you love your landlord and you're a tenant, you should come to the rally too. If you think it's BS that he's getting stiffed, if you're realizing, hey, he doesn't have money to fix my blankety blankety blank. I want a new washing machine and he can't get it. He's he's cash strapped. Why am I carrying these deadbeats? I'm sorry. There I go. Dehumanizing language. Why is he,
Well, I'll take it even one more. The restaurant owners, the small business owners,
yes,
the ones that have been, pretty much
dicked
beaten
around
up over this past year.
Yeah.
Similarly to what we have.
Mm-hmm.
We support their causes and we understand them.
Darn right.
Hopefully they could do and replicate the same effort for us.
Yeah. Hey, it's very nice to say you support small businesses by eating out. My wife and I have been doing it. We've been eating a lot of meals at home, and it feels good every time. And we're intentionally not going to McDonald's and those places. We're going to places around here or ordering from places around here. Can we get the same love? I mean, did you ever have a landlord that was a half decent guy? Did you ever have a landlord that did something nice for you, that maybe moved a couch with you? Or, have you ever had any person that you rented from that, I don't know, sent you a card, is there any human connection? Are we, I'm standing right in front of you, I'm a human being. Yeah.
There's plenty of people that I've had as tenants that I have to this day very nice relationships with.
Right.
Some people have grown to become even friends.
Right.
Over time.
Like I said, the guy at my rally, he's just a good friend that thinks that I'm being treated unfairly. He's a former renter. He's a triathlete. I'm interested in triathlons. I think he's running a 50K today. So if you're interested in triathlons and stuff, shout him out. His name's Randall. Yeah, I'll tell you. He likes social media presence, but he's done like 10 Ironmans. He's a true penultimate badass. And we're close friends. He's coached me. I'm a little fatter and slower than he is, but he's done like 10 Ironmans. And, it's like, we're all people. We're all working together. And if you're not part of the solution, go away, move.
And that's all you could ask for, is support from all ends. And for the people that you treat kindly, to show the same kind of act. Um, they don't even have to be kind to you as well. They just don't have to be aggressive and angry towards you.
Yeah.
That's a better way to approach it. But that being said, I mean, we let the stream go super long, and
Chop it up into bits. Yeah.
I'm very thankful for
Thank you.
any of the people that jumped in, jumped out, jumped in, jumped out, because there's been concurring viewers going all over the platform as far as how many people, and I can't even monitor how many people have been watching through the social media platforms like Facebook and that, like, because I'm only monitoring right now from YouTube. But I do thank everybody that's been listening to us and bearing through it. Uh, and hearing our little banter going back and forth, hearing different perspectives as far as the landlord point of view and the landlord side of the story. Um, we tend to agree to disagree on a couple of things. The one thing that we definitely agree to, I think wholeheartedly, is that the Bills are the only New York team.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so that goes without saying. Again, our goals and our motives are very similar to each other.
Yeah.
Where that the road we take to get there, I don't believe either of us have a definitive answer going forward, because neither of us have reached results yet. And like I said before, I think ultimately the only right answer is the ones that get results.
Mm. We got
So
results. We got results so far. I mean, I thought Spectrum did a good job. I appreciate them. Gave me 45 seconds.
Attention is part of the road
Yeah.
to getting results, but
Yeah.
results are only met once laws are mandated and put into
Yeah.
place.
That's true. I'm not saying we didn't. I'm just saying there's a battle and there's a war, right? There's incremental progress, smart goals. You do this, you try something, you adapt, you do so, but we'll know when it's peacetime, when times are good.
You're talking about battles and wars. We haven't even won a fight in the back of the school.
Well, at least we called them out. At least we took our lumps.
They're over there still waiting for 3 o'clock to hit, and
Yeah. No, I got you.
to happen. But that being said, do you want to share your information with everybody of how they could contact you? Do you want people contacting you as far as anything like this is, going forward, or do you want them to like leave you alone? Like,
no, I appreciate it. I won't be able to answer whoever, but yeah, Ben Hart, just Facebook. I pretty much I love Facebook. I like exploring, but now I got to use it as an outlet. I've always just kind of listened to other people. I don't really scroll anymore. I'm just posting. When this is all over, I'll probably make a new Facebook just so that's not taken over by this and something. I'll figure it out because I do want to stay connected to friends and family, and I want to thank my friends and family for kind of indulging me because I've been so absorbed in this, and I probably will remain absorbed in it until it's resolved, until we have a better world.
Well, how could you not?
Yeah. It's painful. It's painful.
You're a human being, just like all of us.
Yeah.
So it's going to affect you.
Yeah.
No, but that
all right.
I definitely appreciate you coming on.
Thank you.
We're definitely
my hat to you
again. Well, if I had a head, I tip it to you. You got a COVID cut that I'm trying to grow out now. I went past that phase right now, but keep the good fight,
Thanks.
and hopefully, we'll get results sooner than later.
Thank you. Thank you.
Maybe one time we'll get another thing going on with a roundtable with a few more landlord advocates.
Grassroots. What I say, it's all about grassroots. Grassroots.
I'm sure it'll make a very interesting conversation with you and some of the other, because you might think I'm very extreme as far as one end or the other.
No, I don't.
You got to hear some of the guys I talk to, how extreme they are. I'd love to get a roundtable to get all different ways of thinking about this.
Yeah, and it can be, hey, make fun out of it. The IOU thing, it's kind of fun. I think it's a fun idea. I think that'd be great. Have fun with it. If you can't, what do they say? If you're gonna cry, you might as well laugh. Right? It's you might as well, find something to enjoy about this. I mean, it's hard to do, but I really enjoy talking with you. It's the most fun I've had in months because it's someone really connected. When I try to talk to my wife, she's like, nah. When I talk to my mother-in-law, my mom, they give me a little support, sympathy, empathy, but they can only do so much. It's nice talking to someone who really took the time to understand it and took the time to speak with me. So thank you so much for inviting me.
This is what I do the show, just give everybody's perspective.
All right.
So I appreciate it again, and we'll get together soon again. For
Last
everybody
word.
watching, make sure you visit Ben's YouTube channel. I do have the post in the chat box. I will put it down in the description below as soon as we get processed. If you're still watching and you just couldn't leave from this, you were so enamored by this great chat that we had, make sure you put a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. But I got a pretty good feeling anybody that did endure this video are probably subscribed already. But if you're new, make sure you do and show your support for Ben.
Hey,
Thanks a lot, Ben.
whoa. Let's go, Buffalo. Let's go, Buffalo. All right.
Next year's gonna come quick.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you again.